Bring out those bell bottoms and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable FORTSTOCK event.
Turn on your lava lamp because you're going to want to see who's up next. It's the Rapid Recon panel.
Fixed operations as well. We have an all-star panel with us today featuring Dennis McGinn, the founder of Rapid Recon. We have David Simches from the Crown Automotive Group. Our good friend David Long is here from the Hansel Automotive Group. And Josh DeYoung from Velocity Automotive is with us. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Dennis and David, great to see you again. Josh DeYoung, a long time coming. Thank you. Very grateful to have you on the show. David Simches, so honored to meet you as well. And I'd like to start the conversation off today, beginning with David Long. And David, you're in Santa Rosa, California. Let's talk a little bit about your market, describing the economy and its influence right now. Here we are in mid-September on used car sales and sourcing. How do you see it, and how are you addressing any possible concerns right now?
So, used car business, we're talking used cars specifically, right? It's been really good. Most of my stores are up 50, 60, some as much as 300% year over year. So I hear out there that's a little pokey in places. The silver bullet for us is finally have the buy center buying about 40% of our retail inventory. Had it not been for that all coming together, I think we would be flat or down like most of the friends that I have in this space are experiencing. But, you know, when you buy a car from a private party seller, it's like a deposit slip, and we're buying 40% of our inventory from private party sellers. So we're almost insulated from any, knock on wood, almost insulated from any kind of recession that we might experience because they're fast moving, high margin. We know what we're buying. It's a win-win-win all the way around. So that's my answer to how the economy is right now for us, Ted.
David, give us some background and some color on that for those who are not familiar with what you're doing with the Buy Center. Tell us what that's all about and when you began that initiative.
So I started the first Buy Center when we met at DGDG, and Dennis knows this, back in 2014. And I hired two really bright guys with MBAs from MIT that helped me write a complete formula and process. And then they A/B tested everything. And since 2014, I've opened up today, as of today, 67 buy centers from here to Brazil. And the dealers that seem to be doing, the dealers that follow the playbook are purchasing anywhere from 25 to 45% of their inventory from private party sellers. So that's how it started. That's how long I've been doing it.
Wow. And background on Hansel Automotive Group. I know I've been out to see you. How many rooftops now and what franchises?
So we have 8 rooftops. We've been in business for about 65 years. And we have BMW, VW, Acura, Honda, Ford, Toyota, Subaru, just all the good stuff.
Yep. All right. Good. Great job with that. David Simches, let's come over to you over at Crown Automotive Group. What do you see happening right now on the state of the market, the economy, and its influence on your used car sales and sourcing as well?
That must have been for me, right, Ted?
Yes, David.
There you go. The whole screen locked up for a minute there. So you know, we have a majority of our stores are in the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area. And probably the thing that struggles the most is housing. So when you look at inflation coming down around the country, we're kind of one of those hot spots that inflation is still high because of housing prices. So for me, the challenge right now is really affordability. You know, there's low supply of used, which drives the price up a little bit. But you really got to understand that affordability index. We're not up 300%, David, but we are kind of trending up it looks like we'll be up in volume and gross last couple of months, probably about 10-15%. And we really drive very consumer focused. But one of the metrics we've been focusing on as a group is how many of our new car deliveries have a trade attached. So we're real aggressive with sight unseen, kind of in that early pipeline. We talk to the stores, and I'll ask a store manager what step of the sales process is an appraisal today at your store. And you watch a manager kind of think, oh, meet and greet, okay, yup, needs analysis. Oh, we do the trade right away. I had one manager, he was very honest with me. He goes, I think the trade process should be step 3 or 4, but the sales people want to make it 8 or 9. I thought that was a pretty interesting comment. So we push very heavy to get and talk about the appraisal process actually being -1 today, right? So today, right, with the buy centers that are out there, with everything that a consumer has in their fingertips, you really have to mentally get yourself in a place where you realize they've already started the appraisal process. It's before they get here. So inventory has been really strong for us. Our focus now too is really stepping up on time to line. We use rapid recon. It's really, really important because, I think at the 6-month mark, there was some comments made from Cox Automotive that they thought the bottom had come and things were going to level out through the rest of the year. And I think within 2 weeks of that kind of outlook for the rest of the year, Ford announced a $10,000 price drop on Lightning. So, I kind of laugh and say so much for things staying flat. So it's real important that when you buy a car and you're looking at that current market metrics, that you try to transact in that same market. And the only way you do that is getting cars out front and ready quickly. So we're pushing the affordability, pushing a more aggressive first price, getting managers away from that. Hey, I need my shot. First 15-day bucket, I'm going to go for it, and there's no time for that right now, we believe. And I think, focusing on getting cars from the public, maybe not with a buy center, but with an appraisal kind of culture that it's happening before they get there, and pushing to have 70% of our deliveries with the trade attached. That's kind of like our new focus. So if we can have 70% of our retail deliveries with a trade attached, it's kind of like David, right? It kind of weatherproofs us a little bit, because buying cars at the auction is a tough gig.
Yeah, absolutely. David Simches, give us some background on Crown Automotive Group. How many rooftops and about where they located?
Sure. Dwayne Hawkins started Crown Automotive in 1969 with a Pontiac dealership in St. Petersburg, Florida. We've grown. We've got 11 franchises in St. Pete, Clearwater. We have 6 franchises in Tallahassee. Right. So for me, that's a different geographical location. It's still Florida, but very different market. We have 3 franchises in Tennessee, and we have 3 franchises in Columbus, Ohio. So we have 20 rooftops and represent like 30 franchises. So, and 4 definite different geographical locations.
David Long, let me come back to you, David Long, on a follow-up before I come over to Josh and Dennis. David, interesting that David Simches says that, because we see so many initiatives now in the marketplace for that appraisal in the process, and getting that, as he said, -1, getting that as early as possible. David Long, talk to us a little bit about that, because I've never before seen the focus the way I do today.
So I love that, David. I actually wrote it down, -1. When you said that, I was thinking step 2 should be part of the EMI, which is the earlier manager introduction, right? Sir, let me have your keys. I'll go ahead and start your appraisal while you're selecting your vehicle. But I never really thought about it in the form of -1. But I love that. So we try to push every single customer into our trade portal to start there, but I actually haven't measured it the way that you just said until today. Now I'm going to start. And I wanted just a little proviso. I'm looking at the numbers, 175% year over year, 122% up year over year, 133%. So I was wrong. It wasn't 300%. It was 300% on Friday, and we had a crappy week. So now I'm going to have to go get really upset with people for being only up 175% year over year. But David, thank you for that. I love that -1, and we want to get everybody to appraise. That's why when I hear somebody say, my look to book, and they get all proud, my look to book is 55%. And then I look at a 25 car producer with 4 finalized appraisals. I think to myself, why don't we drive that number down? Work hard to go from 45 to 35 and finalize twice the amount of appraisals. You'll have more success. Does that make sense, Ted?
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. Josh DeYoung, you work with a lot of retailers all across this country. You see a lot that's happening out there in the real world. Talk to us about that part of the sales process. We see service drive acquisition, has become a huge part of the conversation. Josh, what are you seeing right now?
I think if you look at what David squared, as we're going to call him, we look at the appraisal process today. I think a lot of dealers are really trying to focus on maybe some of the missing pieces in regards to, who's my appraiser, who's actually appraising the vehicle versus what my estimated recon is. And Dennis is going to hit on this, but what my estimated recon is for that vehicle. And then what do I come in actual, right? What is my actual spend on that vehicle? So we don't have cost to sell adjustments, and really starting to dial that information in, I feel like has really been a hot button for most of the dealers I'm talking to, right? Not only looking at trends, but looking at, do we have those constant same people failing in regards to what we're estimating versus what our actual spend is. And I feel like that's been a big, huge focus right now, because we don't want to have cost to sell adjustments because the market is so volatile. So for me, it's really been a hot button here recently.
Josh, I have never seen reconditioning at the top of the list the way it is now, these past 18 to 24 months. It's really at the forefront, and a lot of dealers are talking about it. They want to talk about it. Talk to us a little bit about that, because it seems that this is no longer something that can be done with a clipboard or on an Excel pad, especially with dealers like you have here, David Squared, who are doing some big volume.
Yeah, listen, I was a big proponent, obviously, during COVID to tell the message that you need to paint the house when it's sunny and not when it's raining. And I felt like it was sunny during COVID for a lot of reasons. We could focus on things that were more important. We had, maybe some slimmed down staff, and we could really focus on some policies and procedures in a store. Unfortunately, not many dealers did that. And so I feel like now that it's really a hot button, I think they really started to own up to the fact that they can't manage it. And you can't fix what you can't manage, and you can't manage what you can't see. And the reality is if you don't have a platform like this, you can't see it. And I'm a big proponent, obviously, of software. And I think software is supposed to make your job easier and more efficient. And if dealers really start to look at where software inundates their business today, whether it be the service drive with a write-up tool or a CRM or an internet lead management process, if you really start to adopt that same, philosophy in your reconditioning process, there'll be a recon tool in every store. So I think this just really starting to hit the forefront, like you said, and people are really starting to focus on it.
Dennis McGinn, you are building, and I say you are still building, a great company at Rapid Recon. I can't tell you how many retailers organically have brought up Rapid Recon, especially within the last year. So congratulations to you. Dennis, what are you seeing, and how does reconditioning enter into the discussion here?
Well, it enters into my whole world, as you can imagine, because when I started down this path 13 years ago, nobody really knew what was going on in reconditioning. They were all guessing. Nobody, frankly, they just didn't want to know because they knew it wasn't good news. But they didn't have any good information. And as Josh said, you have to measure and manage, otherwise you can't improve things. So over the last 13 years, I think we've been lucky in a lot of respects, but the used car business has become the profit driver for most dealers and most groups. And it has been for a while. COVID changed the ballgame because it created the lack of inventory, lack of certain parts and that kind of thing. So it slowed down the new car business, which slowed down the available used cars. And here we are now post-COVID, and the average reconditioning estimate has gone from $1,200 when I started this thing up to about $3,500. And it's because the cars are a lot higher mileage, they're a lot rougher than they were in the beginning. And the point about appraisals is really coming to the forefront, because now we're thinking about the profit opportunity starting at appraisal. So -1, yes, that it all starts. It all starts at the appraisal. And what's really interesting is I've seen that somebody's in a rush to sell a car, and so they want to get the appraisal done. And I think dealers leave a lot of money on the table because of that, because they're in a hurry to try and make the person buying the car, or the new or the certified car, they want to make them happy. And so they want to make them happy that the trade. So as a result of rushing that, they let those sellers who know their car has, got some trouble codes that were fired up recently, and so this is, we're going to focus on this for our enormous customer base out there, to give them the tools. So when they are doing the appraisal, they get a lot more insight into the actual vehicle. I mean, they can walk around and get the cosmetic and look at the inside and sniff it and that kind of thing, but they can't look into the engine. Well, now there are some ways to do that. So we're going to bring forward the time to line, the reconditioning process. We're going to bring it forward to include the appraisal process. And we're going to give those people that are rushed, because, they don't want to leave money on the table, but they don't have any ammunition today. Yeah. So we're going to go after that, because we owe it to our customers, for one thing. And we have the technology now to be able to tie this in, to kind of pull the reconditioning process forward and let them be right side up coming into the deal on the trade. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that, reconditioning has become mainstream everywhere. Used cars are where the profit is in a lot of cases. And now inventory's coming back in, is starting to build up. Some new cars are coming back in, meaning there are more opportunities for trades, buying centers, as both Davids have talked about. And I see that, like I've seen in the industry in general, and technology and computers and the stuff I've been involved in, we're starting into a whole new phase, I think, for this retail business, where it's going to get a lot more discipline. It's going to get a lot better at being predictable. And I think that's the biggest headache that a general manager or group manager has today, is they want to be able to say, this is how my processes work. I have them dialed in. And therefore, as things change, I can react, I can respond, and I can actually manage through these ups and downs.
I like that. David Simches, talk to us a little bit about what Dennis just mentioned, the discipline and the technology, and how that enters. I mean, David, you oversee a lot of vehicles and a lot of locations in several different states, a lot of rooftops. What has helped bring this technology to the forefront for you?
Yeah, so just a couple of things going through my mind. You do need to realize that reconditioning has been a negotiating point for store managers for a long time. Listen, I was trained in the 80s, and I was trained to overinflate the reconditioning value and then have the customer complain, wait a minute, I was at the tire store. I know I can get them for $800. Oh, Mr. Customer, if I can get the manager to take it from $2,000 to $800, would you buy the car? You know, and a lot of that goes on today with managers still. It's in our culture. So reconditioning at an appraisal and a sales manager level is kind of almost, I hate to use this word, a joke. So if a manager wants to stretch on a trade and still make it pencil out to 98% price to market, he may just be a little light on the reconditioning. If he's trying to, steal a trade, he may be heavy on the reconditioning. So that purity of really drilling down on the appraisal and what the reconditioning for the cars, Dennis and I were talking about this the other day, right? When we appraise a car, we should almost be launching the reconditioning at the same time, so that if we take the car and on trade, we have it. And what I really love using are the work items in Rapid. I don't know who else uses the work items, but work items are very similar to an opcode, right, that you would use in service. And they're easier for everyone to understand, right? They're easier for the consumer to understand. They're easier for the managers to understand. So you should have your work items. And what Dennis and I are working towards is, because we do a pretty good job with using the work items, we got to get better, is that during the appraisal process, you tag the work items and there is no messing around with those values. Okay, those values will tie right into our actual cost. So we want to tie the work items in during the appraisal process so that when we trade the car, we can just send it back there with the work items already selected.
I like it.
If that's helps you at all.
David Long, what David Simches says makes a lot of sense. Okay. I know that haggling back and forth. I remember going back to the 80s. I know you remember that as well. Talk to us a little about the technology and how things have changed and the importance of reconditioning and doing it in a more disciplined fashion today.
That was the word that picked my ears up when Dennis said discipline. I've never seen a great reconditioning process that didn't possess a great deal of discipline, along with intensity, awareness, to Josh's point. You can't measure it if you're not aware of it, and having everybody understand how important it is. So in our world, and you know Mike Weldon well, if it's 3 days, we got to circle the wagons. If a car doesn't have a full set of photos at 3 days and we're not like really clear on where that car will be and when it'll be there, everybody knows that that's our focal point. So I think that's super important. The technology piece, I can't, but you said something, David. Let me go back to, I don't know if you remember the AutoNation days. You may not have been involved with that, where we would bless a car and we would put what we thought the car needed in reconditioning and in dollars right on the window of the car. It's pretty much what you're saying now. It's just now with technology. So that's what I hear you saying. So that way, when we appraise, and by the way, I measure the delta between estimated reconditioning and actual reconditioning, because what I believe is the closer we can get those two, the more cars will win at the curb, the more trades we'll prevent from sending to auction, and it'll just be a healthier ecosystem all the way around. So I love what I heard you say, David.
Josh, talk to us a little bit about that discipline. Again, you work with so many dealers, and I really like that word. I think it's so appropriate for what you're doing there.
Yeah, I think if you look at just, the discipline in the process, right? Most dealers today are not doing trade walks, which to me is a piece of foundation that has to happen. It's not, in my terminology, it's a non-negotiable, because you have to set a precedent of where that car sits. Being in fixed operations myself in retail, David Long, we did that. It was the grease pencil on the windshield, and we wrote down, right? It was T for tire, right? We wrote down everything that it needed or what we thought it needed, and it was everybody involved: used car manager, fixed ops, used car technicians, right? Detailer, vendors, whoever we could get involved in that conversation. was involved. But now, like you said, being able to use technology in regards to, what exactly is recommended for that vehicle. And, me and Dennis are talking about taking it a step further. Having the data that we have, being able to say, hey, David, you're getting ready to take in a 2012 Ford Focus. On that 2012 Ford Focus, the right rear window regulator is the most failed item on that year. You probably need to be looking for that right rear window regulator. And being able to take, again, a predictability sense and what needs to be looked at or what needs to be taken care of will then, again, eliminate that cost and get the estimated versus actual. I also believe that most dealers today are really treating the used car department as a used car department, not fixed operations used car department and variable used car department, right? I've always think that there's always been a tug of war, right? A flat rate technician is getting paid on how much is being spent on the car. Parts manager, fixed ops director, or used car advisor is being paid on what's being spent. And the used car manager is really trying to keep that price low. So it's almost like that sense of tug of war where they're fighting against one another. And when you start to streamline that process and understand that everybody's trying to reach the same common goal, has been super important for most dealers today.
Dennis, Josh talks about, and so do both Davids, about being proactive. And, Dennis, going back to those 13 years ago when you started off on this journey, Recon was not quite so sexy back then, but now it has become really, really important. And Dennis, you're really building something here, in being able to look, like Josh just said, into a window regulator or something that's a common thing that we need to look at, before we get that vehicle frontline ready. Talk to us about that, Dennis.
Well, we have the ability now, for those people that are using Rapid Recon, and we started out with the average days of Recon, which they didn't really know before. So that was kind of the wrench turning part of the process. And we got that under control, or at least into people's hands, so they could start to see what was going on. I mean, and part of this, and we'll get back to the discipline, is everybody saying, I'm done with my part. And all of a sudden, you've got people who want to be accountable. Before this, they didn't, because they didn't really have any good information. They didn't trust anybody. They wanted everybody else to be accountable. But, so now we have a reasonable level of people saying, oh, now I can show how good I am at my part of the reconditioning. And so we've taken that and taken it to the time to line, because the real measure is, well, is the car sale ready? Is it standing out there tall? So that part of it we've got. And along the way, we've put in some things like work items that we've mentioned here, which are the ability for the technician or the writer to be able to very quickly accumulate all the things that the car needs right there on their phone. Just click, 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 and you have a total. Oh, this is $2,500. And all this is being watched by the used car manager, who now has the hands on being able to say yes and no to every item on there. Now, the behavior of our dealers is the technicians are going to put down everything they can think of, and the used car manager or the approver is going to approve only the things they think are necessary to retail the car. Well, that's the beginning of this. Now we're going to pull it forward to add the appraisal part of this, because, hey, you got to have the thing right side up, and that's got to be part of buying the car at a fair price. Including the things that are underneath the engine that need attention. But now we're very close to being able to provide profit per vehicle, a very close number for profit per vehicle going into this, on top of the average days of Recon and the time to line. So that's the next step for us now, is to give our dealers that extra tool. They've got most of it in their systems today. We're going to pull it all together so they can actually start to predict how their business is going to respond to the different changes, whether it's different sources for the used cars, or the market has changed. Everybody's got a different situation. But I think the general manager has a tougher job with at least 5 P&Ls to deal with, and being able to give them the ability to predict their business, I think is going to be a really big deal. And that's what we're going with profit per vehicle.
David Long, we're almost out of time. I got to ask you one follow-up question. You're in California, which is the leading state in the U.S. for EV sales. What are you seeing there with different powertrains, hybrids? Are there any challenges that you and Mike Weldon and the team are facing, in terms of reconditioning with these different platforms and powertrains? And does that have any effect on the Recon flow at your dealer group there?
Oh, let me see if I can answer that in a way that will make sense. So, one, I'm really excited to be in California because EVs are backing up everywhere throughout the country. And there's no way that the manufacturer is going to come out with some great incentives for Iowa that they don't come up for in California. So all the things that are happening around the country are, again, going to benefit the Californians. Just another reason why I pay so much tax, I guess. And then on the reconditioning side, I mean, the cars don't need a lot, right? It's generally tires, making sure our customers know that buy the car, how quickly they're going to need to replace those tires, and making sure they know we are the tire depot, right? There's no better place to buy tires than for us. I think that seed gets planted the day an EV customer takes delivery, is how we can keep that customer coming back at the regular intervals. And then making sure the manufacturer doesn't send them oil change certificates, which happens. You may think I'm kidding, but wow. I can't tell you how many people have brought in their coupon for their oil change on their EV and said, what's going on here? So I just think it's a great new frontier. Makes an old guy like me that's been doing this for almost 40 years, it kind of gives me new life and something to be excited about. And especially being in California, like 1 out of every 4 cars sold in California is an EV. So how can I not love that? Yeah. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Ted.
David Simches, do you want to weigh in on that? Because I believe Florida is a distant second, but it is second, in terms of that EV market. Anything that you're seeing, David, there?
Well, I have a question for David Long. So, David, did you come up with a separate checklist for EVs, or do you just give the technicians your standard check and advise format?
David, that's a great question. Knowing Mike Weldon as well as Ted and I do, he probably did, but I can't answer that.
Yeah, because right now we have a used car focus team together, and it's a mixture. The way Crown does it is we have some variable and fixed ops people mixed in there. So the fixed guys are going to take a look at a lot of their new car prep sheets and try to get an idea of what they do, and then come up with a separate EV checklist. I think there's still even some confusion. People don't even know which car did a charging cable come standard with or not, right? We tried arbitrating a Mercedes once, and then we found out because there was no charging cable, and we found out they don't come with one. Okay, so we're still learning our way through, but we figured if we organized a checklist and did it kind of pivoted off of what the manufacturer gives the dealer for the new car prep, would be good. I mean, I own a Tesla. I have got 22,000 miles on it in a year. I'm a heavy driver. So at least I'm comfortable enough to know that, the adapter for the Tesla charger and the cord, it's all supposed to be in there. I know what to look for, but I don't think a lot of we're taking them in, we're reconning them just like regular cars, kind of. We're just not doing the oil change, but I think Fixed is still charging me for it, though.
Of course they are.
Yeah, of course they are. So we're going to try to come up with a really formal checklist to let customers know we kind of think we know what we're doing with EVs, and this is how we went through the car to get it ready for you.
I love
Gentlemen,
that.
Fascinating conversation. I'm taking a lot of notes. I see some of you are taking notes. I know our audience is as well. We're going to have to leave it there. Dennis, one last question from someone in the audience. This is the season of FORTSTOCK, Woodstock. That is our theme. Question from the audience. is twofold. Number one, were you at the Woodstock event? And number two, where were you seated at that time in Bethel, New York?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was a little busy at that time in 1969, trying to sell computers for Hewlett Packard. So I wasn't there. If I had been there, then I would be right in the front row, because I like to see what the heck's going on. Doesn't matter where I am. I'm a curious person. But I want to thank you for taking the time to do this with us. I think, Fixed Ops has made a huge contribution to the industry with your program and being able to connect topics like this with a very large audience. So before we kind of sign off here, I just wanted to recognize that you personally have made a great contribution to the industry, just bringing this forward. And I know it's been a lot of work. So my hat's off to you, and appreciate being able to pull us together and do this. And yeah, I guess I should have been at Woodstock. Maybe I'll go out and buy a tie-dyed T-shirt now to make me feel like I'm not older than I am.
Everybody, if you want to reach out to Rapid Recon, obviously you could see that they are at the top of the conversation here. They're on their game. You've got some of the leading retailers in the country with David Long and David Simches here. For more information, visit rapidrecon.com. Dennis McGinn is also on LinkedIn, easy to find there as well. But rapidrecon.com, and I can tell you that a lot of dealers here at the Roundtable are using Rapid Recon. So very grateful to all of you. Josh DeYoung, thank you so much. Great to finally have you on the show. David Simches, Crown Automotive Group. I'd like to have you both back on the show. Fantastic stuff. David Long, thank you for your contributions as well to Fixed Ops with the good work that you're doing on Monday mornings, all things fixed operations at the Hensel Automotive Group. And Dennis McGinn, the founder of Rapid Recon. Everybody, Rapid Recon here today with the A-list panel at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Recon in 2023. Time to line. Speed to sale. Manage by metrics. Know what you don't know. Technician efficiency. Workflow efficiency. More cars, less time. Know where your cars are. Connect to what you expect. Rapid Recon can help.
Signs. They tell you the road, places you're going, the promise that awaits. No matter where you go, when you see this sign, it means I take my car here and it runs better and lasts longer, guaranteed. It's a bold statement, but it's one that BG has proven over and over for more than 50 years. It all started when the founders of BG Products in Wichita, Kansas were looking for a breakthrough. They developed the first BG formula. Skeptics said it wouldn't work. Anyone who tried it knew that it did. Pour it in, and engine performance and life improved, just like that. But BG wasn't about to be contained to a can. What started in the engine spread to every working part of every kind of vehicle and to every part of the world. Because all BG products and services have one ingredient in common: innovation. Through cutting-edge research and development, state-of-the-art resources, and an unwavering commitment to quality, BG leads the way with proven solutions of real-world drivability problems. That's why, worldwide, professionals use BG products, services, tools, and equipment every day. And why every year professionals from around the world attend BG University, the most advanced client success program in the industry. And why everything BG does is proven to deliver customer satisfaction and retention. Today, customers don't just look for a shop. They look for a BG shop. What can take a product from the heart of America into the hearts and minds of car owners all over the world? This sign and what it means. Now, ask what BG means to you. Because BG works worldwide.
Take a moment now to stop your records and pull out your phones to scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the event. Remember, every vote counts, so make sure to vote for the 5 speakers or panelists you think are the best and grooviest speakers at the Fixed Stops Roundtable. And don't forget, you can only vote once, one time. Make big moves with the BG Products Marketing and Training Panel at our pop-up event in Wichita, Kansas.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable pop-up. I'm Sarah Vantine here with you live at BG Products in Wichita, Kansas. I have a great panel with me here today. First, Andy and Dale with BG. Could you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about what you do with BG?
Sure. I'm Andy Baldassarre, Director of Marketing and Training. Been here almost 6 years and really in charge of the education program and the branding and outreach of BG Products.
Yeah, I'm Dale Smith, Training Program Manager and one of the BGU instructors here at BG. And, you know, off and on, whether it was distributors, BG distributors, or here at corporate, I've been with them for 15 years now.
And we, of course, have our special friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Shawn Butler, representing the dealership side of the industry. Well, first, Andy, I want to ask this question. Could you tell us a little bit about the team here at BG and what goes in and goes on with the BG marketing team and the training team?
Sure. So a little bit of everything. We keep very busy. We have a big team on the training side. So a big part of BG Products is not only do we have the best product in the marketplace, which is great, but I think most people know the best product doesn't always win. Mm-hmm. And so for over 50 years, we've always known that we have to have that value-added piece. So training is a big part of who we are and what we do. And Dale and his training team out in the field, going to dealerships every day is a big part of it. So as far as the training is, we have a program called BG University, which is where we bring our reps in to train them up. Because if they're not trained, they can't go into your dealership and make sure they're doing it the right way and the safe way. So that's a big part of it. And then our branding team and our marketing team is doing a great job right now of just kind of rebranding everything, the look and the feel of the brand, the websites, if you've looked at that, our product offerings, really bringing those to light and to shine. So a lot going on.
Well, and Dale, so there's really no company in your segment with a training program as robust as BG's. And it's been so incredible to be here today to see the campus and the facility in Wichita. So for our dealers that may not know, what are the levels of training that you offer?
Sure. So first and foremost, hats off to all of our representatives. With 800 plus reps on the ground that are trained to serve stores like yours, right? That's where the rubber meets the road when it comes to training our folks out in the field to help you with your guests that come into your store every single day. So, you know, and then the second level is our distributor network. It's very imperative that the distributor orchestrates everything for their team. They invest in sending them here. They invest in making sure that they do training nights with your advisors, representatives, and technicians. You know, if we're going to continually keep training at the forefront, that's something that the distributors bring to the level for your stores and make sure that they're supporting you. Shop nights, training nights, things like that. And then, you know, last but not least is corporate level, you know. So when we talk about everything under the corporate umbrella, from our field training, we have field trainers that go out and support the local distributors and then go to your stores as well. But the next thing is, you know, when it comes to our training, and the next level would be digital assets. We want to make sure that we always have a presence when we're not present. So if we have a touch point that your advisors can go back to and continually train on, that's very easy, one thing that, the OE didn't teach us is they taught us how to diagnose and repair vehicles, right? But when it comes to the maintenance segment, we weren't up on that too much, right? We had national advertisements, but the training and make sure that those trained folks, and I think you'd agree, a trained team's going to outperform an untrained team every time, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's just multiple layers when it comes to our reps in the field, distributors, and then our corporate team here.
And I would add to that, the corporate team it does a great job, but like Dale said, with over 800 reps in the field that can train, we're in your stores as often as you want us. And I know from Dale's perspective, he's been a fixed ops director himself, and you guys are busy. There's a lot going on. So when we say that partner beyond products, we really want to deliver on that. And so we have the people in the field, they're trained. And so that's one level there too. But as he was saying, the digital side, we're doing a lot more webinars now that are open to dealerships, advisors, technicians to come learn from our experts. So we have that, but we also have BG Certified, which is an online training program. And I always joke about that. Who loves online training? Nobody, right? Nobody loves online training, but we've designed it in a way that's more like a YouTube course. So it's very easy to go through. It teaches you the core of the service. But we use that not only to train people coming into the dealership, which I think you can testify that people coming into our business today are not automotive people.
Absolutely not.
They don't have the background they used to. So BG Certified, talk to your BG rep, but that's the best way to get a good foundation of automotive maintenance, right, of a program. But we also use that program. We also have an augmented reality app that's the industry first in our segment called the BG Experience. So we have a lot of digital training. We have a lot of live training at those three levels that Dale talked about. So.
Well, you really drove it home, Andy, about the partners beyond products. So it sounds like you really are being thoughtful and strategic in how you're getting this information to dealerships and giving them a variety of experiences to really enhance that. On that topic, so in addition to training, I do see a tremendous number of sales and support technologies here at BG. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we've leveled up the training a lot in the last 5 years, which is great. A lot of video-based training, but we also realized there's more information that's needed. Training's great, but it's not on demand a lot of times, right? So how can we make the training and the resources on demand? So we created several applications. Some of them are support, some of them are point of sale. So a big one is the BG Tech app. That app will actually tell the technician, this is the adapter you use to hook up to that vehicle. These are the instructions for the piece of equipment that you have. This is the correct BG fluid that meets or exceeds the OE fluid. So there's even tech tips in there. Some vehicles are more difficult to connect to than others. So if we've identified those, there's a video or at least a written.
I've seen that. It makes it pretty easy. Even an express newbie can follow along.
Yeah. I always tell shops and our BG reps, that's the first line of defense. If you can't find what you're looking for within 5 minutes, guess what? Your BG rep's phone number is in that app. You can call them, because time is money, right, in this business. So we have an advisor app, we have a tech app, but we also have a wonderful point of sale menu software called BG Smart VMA. And that's a virtual menu that is a digital menu for presenting to customers that has all of the packages and the intervals and whatever that dealers decide to offer at different intervals. It's customized to the dealership. So we've got a lot of different things.
Boy, we sure do. Smart VMA is a very good tool. How many times did we put forth a menu in the dealership and we got a phone call in and maybe the guest would get 3 different answers on pricing, right? So it's something that we can keep very consistent and make sure that the same message to the guest that's been specific to their vehicle and the needs of their vehicle, and then the guest chooses which level of performance they'd like.
Absolutely. And a lot of times you have the technicians, depending on the technician and their level of experience with the different machinery or the products, you'll get 3 techs that do it 3 different ways.
Yes.
None of them are actually right.
Well, Andy and Dale and Shawn, I'd love to field this question to you. So, with over 50% of dealers using BG, what insights have you found that might be helpful to our dealer audience listening today? Andy, I'd like to start with you and then go down the line.
Yeah, good question. So I look at a lot more of the data where Dale's more in the field. So when I look at the data of things like our BG Certified, for example, not only does it train the shop, but we have some questions in there that actually educate us. And there's a question in there that says, why in this scenario, did you miss the opportunity to sell a maintenance service? And there's options in there like, I'm too busy, or there's no process, or there's a couple other questions. What we found was over 70% of people answer, we don't have a process to sell maintenance services. So that was a big, we really know that from being in the field. We see everybody says they have a process to sell maintenance, but they really don't. But what was insightful is even the advisors and technicians at your dealership, they know that you don't have a process. And so that's an insight I took back to really take it to the reps. Even if they tell you they have a process, investigate 3 seconds or 3 questions further and find out what's really going on in that store.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Andy says this to me all the time. He says, Dale, is knowledge really power? And the answer is no, unless you use it. So when we train at the dealership level even, right? Shawn, in your instance, you're in it live right now. When I was doing it, the OE taught us how to repair the vehicles, right? Diagnose and repair them. But when it came to fundamentals of rolling out maintenance to our customers, we just had a national advertisement in a quick lane that did the oil services, right? But what this level of training brings to your staff is, A, they don't have to worry about the session timing out. I have to say I have 3 fails on my record from Ford Motor Company, and that's, because I had to stop what I was doing and go out and take care of some things that were happening on the service drive, or make sure that technicians had exactly what they needed so that we could progress during the day. And one of the biggest things about our program is you can pause it, you can time it out, and you can come back to it. If you don't like your score, if you got to be that perfectionist like me, I'll go back in and take it till I get 100%. But those are some of the offerings where people can be comfortable about this. And the 800 plus people that are trained to come into the stores is something that you can count on to be able to do the first one, so that your staff will know exactly what to expect. They're pretty easy, they're fast, and you'll always learn something from them. So,
quick and easy is usually a key factor when it comes to holding somebody's attention, right?
Yes.
Demonstration accountability, though, is the number one factor. If we're not presenting the menus on the service drive, then shame on us for not holding the advisors accountable. But the number one reason I found that they don't present the menus is they don't believe them, don't believe in the products themselves,
yes,
or they don't understand them. So the quick and easy training makes it much easier when it comes to it. When you understand the value of something, it overcomes the price.
Yes. One of the biggest insights we've had too is exactly what you said. They don't believe it, which is the BG rep's job to show them, which we have lots of demonstration to show you and a lot of data to show you that it actually improves the life of the component and it's a better quality fluid. But also with the training, our best accounts have a manager, a fixed ops director like yourself who is bought in and promotes the training and says, hey, this is what we're doing. This is important. Dale's going to be here on Tuesday and I need all of you there. And this is the program we're doing.
Right.
And if they see you say that and really back up the BG rep,
yes,
that makes a huge difference. And everybody really jumps on board and we see a lot of great results.
No, well, don't forget, now you have your technicians, right? They want hours, right? That's how they get paid. And the BG rep usually takes care of the technicians, to my knowledge, as any other reps usually do. But the worst mistakes advisors make, selling out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
Well, and Andy and Dale and Shawn, I'm hearing that there's a real need to make customers aware of the benefits of those maintenance intervals. And I'm thinking even further, this is a great piece to even help train the people that are taking the phone calls and booking these appointments in the dealership. So it's really incredible that y'all have built such a comprehensive program that's really designed to educate the customer across the entire service experience. Andy, I know you're the director of marketing and training. And you have some really great resources available here in the shop. But I was also surprised to know that BG has acquired and expanded a promotional company that actually produced my new Fixed Ops Roundtable swag. So can you tell your dealers a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we have acquired a promotions company, and they do some amazing stuff. We got the Fixed Ops Roundtable swag, even got the Richardson 112, which we know is so popular with technicians. But yeah, so this is a really cool venture that we have to, again, we're your partner beyond products. If you need a store If you go to merch.bgprod.com, you'll see the BG swag store that was just launched, and it's amazing. And anybody can have a custom store like that. The division of BG is called BG Masterworks. And so you can look them up at bg-masterworks.com. There's a phone number on there, and they can help you with whatever you need. But there's a lot of cool things we're doing to, we're promoting our brand. Now we're helping you promote your brand, and we can help everybody promote their brand. So we're excited about that.
Dealers, make sure you check out this website. This is so exciting. And really, this has been such an informative panel. I've learned so much in this segment. So Andy, Dale, Shawn, thank you so much for being part of this and sharing a little bit more about BG products today. We're here live at the Fixed Ops Roundtable pop-up event. Stay tuned for more segments. We've got some additional segments coming up that are going to be fantastic. Stay tuned.
You might have noticed that the Fixed Ops Roundtable is on the move, and that's because we are now hosting pop-up events. We are on our way to a dealership near you with spontaneous events in amazing dealership spaces to highlight the hardworking people in retail service, parts, and dealership-wide. Stay up to date with where we are headed next by following the Fixed Ops Roundtable on social media. Peace out with the Proton Dealership IT Retail Panel up next.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It's a great honor to welcome this panel on cybersecurity. The panel includes Tully Williams from the Nilo Company up in Sacramento, California. Welcome, Tully. Belinda Susser is here from the Gone Automotive Group in Texas. Fred Cuddy is here from Bryan Honda. Shawn Kingrey from the Kaiser Automotive Group in Madison, Wisconsin. And Ed Roberts from Bozard Ford Lincoln. Thank you, everybody. Let's get right into it. I have a three-part question for everybody. Tully, let me come to you first. In your opinion, what does it mean to be security-minded? Do you feel that your dealership group is, and why do you think that's important? Tully first.
It's a huge deal. I mean, you go back 5 years ago, cybersecurity, yeah, whatever. But now when you find out that someone can break into a box and lock you out and charge you millions of dollars, and if you don't pay, the data goes away forever. This is a scary thought. And I think dealerships are probably come to the table probably a little bit on the late side of this. But if we do not take this seriously, we will be hacked. It's a matter of not when. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. You must have great partners like Reynolds and Reynolds, to make sure that you have the security. But the first thing it starts with is, does your dealer understand what cybersecurity is? And two is that, does your employees understand all of the things that's going to happen? We're not going to be able to share passwords. We're not going to do all these other things that are a huge deal. But if they understand why we're doing it, the process works so much easier.
And Tully, you're in California, so if you don't mind a follow-up, you're a little ahead of the curve. You've been preparing for this maybe a lot earlier than most dealerships.
We have, so California, we have some crazy laws. And so we, part of the safeguards is that we've been doing that for a while. But I think the biggest thing for us is that really trying to educate everybody on we're going to get hacked. So we've had a dealer group in our Sacramento area that got hacked and was ransomed, and they had to pay. That really does scare people into we need to get insurance, and we need to have a company that we all agree that will protect us from these outside intruders. It is a must. This is not a win. It's a must now.
Shawn Kingrey, you're up in Madison, Wisconsin. What do you feel that it means to be security minded?
Tully hit a couple of nails right in the head there. First of all, we're always late to the game. I've done a few panels already. This segment already talking about the fact how the car business, the automotive side of it, we always are late to the game for whatever reason, afraid of change, thinks it's not going to affect us. But listen to what Tully just said. They've already been hit. I mean, guys, what does a day's business cost you? I'm in a group now of 8 stores. What is one day? And you're not going to get it back the next day. You're going to, it's going to be an 8, 10, 12-day thing. And then what do you do with the clients who know they've been hacked? Do they trust you anymore? You got to rebuild. And Tully, I mean, that just hits home, I think, more than anybody else. What's it going to cost you to lose 8 to 10 days worth of business?
Ed Roberts, you and I recently met with a dealer who lost a lot more than 8 to 10 days over a big dealer group with dozens and dozens of stores. Ed, what does it mean to be security conscious today?
Well, I'll give the audience something to relate to. We all know that at times we know a friend or someone that's got their credit card hacked and they ran away with it and whatever else, and they ran out of the credit cards, various different things. But imagine that happening for every employee at the dealership or at the company, as well as every single customer base. Every single customer that comes through there, it locks it all down, and it destroys everything. So it's about protecting not only our employees, it's about protecting our customers. It's about preparing for what could happen, but preparing for what could happen to prevent it from happening rather than wait until after it happened. And unfortunately, we've had to have a few that has, like you just talked about there, Ted, with the 20 group store that got locked down, and it was weeks before they could get back going. Had to replace several computers. There's no telling how much business they lost during that time. It's unmeasurable. And then with Tully's store there, that got locked down. So an ounce prevention goes a long ways in this, and it's to protect our people, it's protect our customers, and it's protect the assets of the business.
Belinda, you've been working in this space for your dealer group for some time. I would imagine it also means the trust between the dealership and the customers as well. Talk to us what it means to be security conscious.
Absolutely. You're talking about it happening to yourselves. If it hasn't happened to our dealerships, it's definitely happening down the road, and it's everywhere. It's getting closer and closer to home. And to me, being security minded is being aware of the consequences of that breach or attack. And if we're not going to put something into the preparation to build that wall between us and a bad actor, then, we're going to have to suffer the consequences, and those consequences are definitely going to be high. And they're, as they, kind of encroach upon us, it's going to be unavoidable.
Fred Cuddy, talk to us about this as well.
Well, first of all, thank you, Tully. I mean, you really pointed out a lot of very important things that not only our entire staff need to be aware of, and historically have not. Prior to this, we have involved PROTON Dealership IT to help us with the Federal Trade Commission safeguard rule, and we are in the middle of rolling all that out currently. And it's very important to make sure that our staff is aware of their part as a human firewall in all of this. Their actions, their response to an email could certainly take a store down. And an example that Ed was talking about, I have a doctor friend who recently was hit by ransomware. It took his entire office down. They worked for a month to try to get the store back. Once they finally got it back, it was up for about 4.5 days. It went down again, and it was a complete throwaway. Can you imagine the financial cost for replacing all the computers and everything that was in that office to getting back online? I do the security training for our staff here, And I use that as an example to bring that home to our users, because our users are our human firewall. And if they don't do the job right, they could be responsible for taking the store down. And I make that clear to them. You don't want to be responsible for taking the store down. The financial loss there will be enormous. And I promise you, they can't afford it. And if you make that clear to the staff, that raises their awareness of their part in making sure that the store stays safe. So currently we're going through the PROTON introductory training, and we're about 53% complete on the second day. So our people are paying attention and we're moving forward.
And Fred, if I may, you're the CFO over there at Bryan Honda, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Fred, in fact, let me go to Fred first and then Belinda. What are some of the biggest obstacles on your dealership's journey or preparing for this journey in getting more confident in security and the protections? Fred first and then over to Belinda.
Yes, interestingly, when we were first made aware of the Federal Trade Commission safeguard rule and what you needed to do to comply with that, we received notification from Reynolds & Reynolds in the form of a bulletin about what was coming, and we started working forward at that point, because we did involve Reynolds & Reynolds to manage our network, manage our firewall, and our endpoint response and detection, our antivirus. Well, when PROTON became part of Reynolds & Reynolds, we said, you know what, we really need to up our game, and we did. So we involved PROTON. We bought into it. We got all the services to help us comply with the Federal Trade Commission safeguard standard. Because right now, making sure our staff is trained, that's so important, because all a person has to do is click the wrong thing once and it's on. And as Tully said, you're done. It could happen at any second, even while we're talking right now. And the staff need to be aware of that.
Belinda, biggest obstacles that you've come across in becoming compliant at this point?
I would go back a little bit farther than that and just say interpreting the laws. The guidelines that came across were sometimes they were a little vague, and I think it needed a lot of interpretation. Luckily, I have a lot of dealer groups that we have an IT team that we meet a couple of times a year. So it has been the top discussion for quite a while now. So just interpreting those laws, and then having the resources available. Okay, now I know I need to protect my end users' emails. So how am I going to do that? So now you're trying to pull all these resources together and build this security wall. So I would say those are probably the top two. And I would agree with Fred. I mean, PROTON has been amazing in bringing those resources available, and just working with them to have that safeguard.
Tully, it's becoming top of mind. What led you and your group to the procedures that you have in place currently at NILO?
I think the biggest thing is when you look outside and you see companies being hit, and then when you see companies like yourselves, dealerships, being hit, it really sinks in like holy mackerel. Now, we've been talking about security. Okay, we had the little cheapy one that we had, which is expensive, but it kind of works. It's for the 8-year-old hacker not to get into. I'm more worried about the 20-year-old hacker, getting in, right? So I think that you realize the threat, and then you say it's a threat. Then you need to find the right company for your dealership to come in and teach you about cybersecurity. One is you have the training, 100%, and it's 100%, or else that's not it. It has to be 100%. But really getting the right technology, and today technology has advanced so much in protecting our store, we don't see it as much as we used to see it, say 2 or 3 years ago, where now the technology is actually doing a better job and being less intrusive on our end users, which is a huge deal. Because before, I can't get to YouTube, I can't get to the OEMs, I can't. And now software is really helping us with that. So the software technology company is a huge deal to help you get yourself from being hacked.
Ed, you and I were recently on a panel with a dealer who said on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock They realized that perhaps somebody had clicked on the wrong email, on the wrong link, and it was on that Friday evening that everything went down platform wide. And by Saturday, by Monday, they were out of business. They had to handwrite ROs. They didn't have information on vehicle costs and parts. And, we heard the nightmare that ensued. Ed, most important factor when looking for an IT and security company. I know you're a Reynolds dealer for a long time and they're seriously in the business, but most important factor you look for.
Well, Tully talked about training. We have to train everybody because to them, to our employees, it's not necessarily important to them. It's just a part of the job that we throw out there. And we talk about what could happen from it. And we went through all the training here. And then ultimately, behind that training, we sent out bait emails because we think that our employees, they're smart enough. They won't do any of that. But we sent out some bait emails, and guess what? Some of them clicked on them. And then poof, it shows that it's time to go through training again. Thankfully, that percentage was very, very, very low. But guess what? It only takes one. So training and then verifying the training and that they comprehended the importance of it is key to bringing our guys up to understand the vulnerability of where we're at.
Shawn, I would think you're not immune to it there in Wisconsin, are you?
No, Ted, it's funny is you like to think you are because you got Tully on the West Coast, you got Ed on the East Coast, and you got different areas, but that doesn't make you any more less vulnerable by any stretch. And you talk about the bait emails, Ed. We send them out daily to the point it's probably the number one internal employee complaint we have. Can we just stop already? But to your point, it takes one because I'm on the recipient list of who gets them. And almost everyone you send out, somebody's clicking on it. Somebody's clicking on, when we talk about losing business and, I said 8 to 10 days, you go 30 days. Can you put a monetary value? Can you put a value what it does to your credibility with your clients? I mean, listen, you talk about, Fred talked about a doctor's office. I mean, it doesn't get much more intimate than that. But guys, you go to finance, all your personal stuff's there. Your social security number, your name, your number, your income, everything somebody needs to know, you're giving it to them all. Just lay it out there on the table because you're wide open at that point and you're vulnerable. And I don't know how you put a price tag on that or what it does, because it's going to hit every newspaper in the world in your local area that, hey, listen, ABC Motors got whacked last night and all your stuff's out there.
So everybody, June 9th is just behind us. The Safeguards Act was finally implemented. We had a little reprieve on that for a small time, Ed, but, it's now come. And Belinda, you're the director of technology for the group. How big of an undertaking was it to prepare for Safeguards that just happened a few months ago on June 9th? And what did that look like for you?
Well, it was a huge undertaking, and having support of our resources available to us, Reynolds and Proton, we helped build, the program that we needed in place to keep us safe. So I think that was the big part, is having that available to you. I know there's some dealerships out there that kind of piece everything together. You have a lot of compliance things that you're working with, and every single one is different. So being able to do everything at one time, focus on the data processing agreements with your vendors and work on your email security, and also have all of your paperwork in place. I was pulling resources from every place I could to at least make a little bit of progress on all those guidelines as we went through. It was very helpful to at least have somebody to guide you through that process.
Belinda first, and then over to Fred on the same question. Belinda, is there anything that Proton IT has been able to help you with that you truly wouldn't have been able to cover on your own or manage on your own?
Absolutely. A lot of this, the responsibility does fall back to the dealership. So you're not just going to turn it over and have somebody take it away from you, because ultimately the dealership is responsible. So you have to give the time and attention you need to every single guideline. But Proton has given us resources to use and given us basically a map to follow, and just keeping up with that and giving it the attention it needs is brings you full circle.
Yeah. And Fred, over to you. Anything they've helped you with that you wouldn't have truly been able to do on your own?
Yes, actually, as Belinda said earlier, that the original rule when it was released, it was vague at best. And you say, okay, great, I want to comply. I have to comply. It's crazy not to comply. But what do I do? Well, until we involved Proton, that was still a question. Well, once I got Proton, I got, they helped me with understanding where we needed to go and how we needed to get there, because the rule didn't really clarify that. You were just struggling. So, okay, you've got to write all these different documents. And I spent a month writing a document that I think is correct. But what if I'm wasting my time and the rule says it's got to be this, that, and the other, and I had no idea what it was? So Belinda's point is well taken, and that's where we were struggling. We didn't know where to go with this stuff. We knew we had all these things that we had to comply with. We said, how the heck do we get there? Yeah. Well, with Proton, we know how to get there, and we're about 98% there right now with our spam testing, which we ran for the last 4 weeks, and we had a lot of failures. Yeah, no, it was really surprising. People that I thought wouldn't make a mistake were making horrible mistakes. They were clicking on things they should never click on, and it really opened our eyes that, oh my God, we got users that really need training. And with Proton, they're going through the training right now, and I have people coming in and saying, thank you, because they realize they need that training. And again, we're about 53%. One of the last steps that was going to be difficult for us is penetration testing, and that's coming up next. So the next step for us is our penetration testing, and keeping my fingers crossed, as we've done a lot of work with Reynolds over the last really about 8 years, with Reynolds providing us with managed network, managed firewall, and managed virus. Let me tell you, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, they're just impeccable in the performance and the services that they provide.
So, Fred, it sounds like there's a lot of layers to this that you're describing right now that you've gone through and are continuing to go through. Is that correct?
Yes, we've been working for months at this point with the documentation, the network preparedness, and all the work that we've done. I've worked very, very close with Reynolds Networking, so Matt Riley and some of the other folks, which maybe you guys know that name. I worked very close with him and several other folks with modifying what the Sophos antivirus will do for us and our TZ600 firewall. And we've segmented our public Wi-Fi and our internal Wi-Fi and many things to make sure that we are completely isolated to prevent penetration. So we've done a lot of work over the last several years.
Ed, I know you're a longtime Reynolds dealer, and we know Reynolds takes this seriously. I recall the announcement over the last winter about the cybersecurity platform, okay, if you will, command center that Reynolds is creating. Ed, they take it seriously at Reynolds.
They do. And let's touch back on what Fred was saying there. He tried to put all this stuff into place. And it's like anytime we buy a new computer, we buy anything, we got to accept the terms and conditions. There's all that stuff you have to read, and we don't go through and read all that stuff. We scroll to the bottom, click accept, and roll right through it. Well, somebody has to put that together, but when somebody puts that together, somebody's got to interpret it, and that's the way laws are written. Somebody has to interpret that law, and then we got to be able to put the guidelines in place around it. So it may sound like, hey, we keep stuff cleaned off our desk, and we don't do this, and we don't do that, and we're compliant, but it's not. And so that's what Proton does a great job at, is they're the professionals that breaks all those elements down. They already have all the documents that we need, all the things we need to send out to our people, all the training programs, and they make it easy. It's a one-stop shop, and they take care of the things, and we don't even have to figure out what the law says. We hire someone to handle it for us. So sometimes the convenience is worth the charge.
Belinda, the title of this panel is How an Effective Cyber Team Makes All the Difference. I guess having Proton and Reynolds on that team is pretty important.
It's absolutely important. This is going to it's a team effort. It's not one person. And, having a versatile, open-minded group of people that can adapt to the ever-changing, world of hackers and breaches and attacks, because no two are alike. So you approach every single attack differently. And I think the Reynolds security team is just amazing at what they do. They're super responsive, and they've got some brilliant people on their staff. So without them and the Proton team, we wouldn't be able to do it on our own.
Tully, we spoke before the panel began about the rising cost of cyber insurance. A lot of people don't realize there is a cyber insurance, and I seem to recall that you mentioned that that's something that you have and do participate in. Talk to us about that and how that affects things.
Well, I think if you believe in cybersecurity, it's kind of like earthquake insurance out here. It's kind of like flood insurance if you're in a floodplain, and it's kind of like it's part of the insurance. Because this threat is so real, cyber insurance is extremely expensive, but it has to happen. One thing with cyber insurance, you can't buy insurance and say, I'm off the hook. You have to comply with all these rules that the insurance company mandates, which is good because it prevents it from happening. But if something does happen, we're protected. And so we all talked about how expensive is it going to cost us to be down for 1 day, or 5 days, or this poor doctor's office that got knocked out permanently. It's unreasonable for us as a car dealership. It just cannot happen. So insurance to us is just as important as all of your liability insurance or your earthquake insurance or your flood insurance. It is part of the insurance package. Now, your goal is never to use it, and you have to have great vendor partners, right, to make sure that your cybersecurity is strong enough to block outside vendors, and the insurance is just there just in case.
Shawn, what would you say to a dealership or a group that doesn't see IT and security as a top priority here as we go into the fall and winter 2023-24?
I think it's not a choice. I mean, to Tully's point, you don't have an option at this point. This is more than not leaving an open repair order on somebody's desk that's got information, or a deal jacket on an F&I office in the box or something like that. This is bigger than that. And I think my biggest takeaway from this panel, Ted, is, listen, I always make the comment that, as service managers, we're not marketing people. We don't know marketing. Guys, you listen to Fred, and I know about 10% of what Fred's talking about down there. Some of the lingo he's throwing out there that 5 years ago, we didn't even know what that 10% was. But we don't know IT. We aren't IT professionals. You kind of get thrown into it, but you got to have somebody that knows what it is. If you're not taking it serious, it's a matter of time. And imagine, you talk about how hard technicians are. I'm going to take it one step further, how hard technicians are to find. Have a technician sitting around for 14 to 28 days, 2 to 4 weeks with no work because you can't punch on tickets. You can't pay. You can't bill out parts. That tech's not going to stick around, guys. Somebody else will take them. They're going to get paid one way or the other.
Wow. Powerful stuff, everybody. Last question for today. I'll go around the horn. Belinda, I'd like to start with you. Where do you see security measures headed now as we look out over the horizon, the balance of this year into next year? And Belinda, how do you plan to stay on top of these changing policies and technologies? Because we know they are constantly changing. I'll come to you first, Belinda, and then go around the horn.
Some of the things I'm doing personally, I'm always watching the news. I always have a webinar going. If I'm, at lunch or have some free time, I have some sort of webinar. I'm educating myself. If you're gonna crawl in a hole and sit in a corner, you're never gonna stay on top of it. You have to be super aware of what's going on and what's happening so you can be able to take that next step. So I would say just self-development and just being aware is probably the key factor.
Great advice. Ed Roberts, where do you see this headed?
This is not a check the box and done. This is ongoing training. They'll find new ways to get in. They'll find new ways to do things. And so what we are studying today and what we're trying to do today to prepare our people to understand what's out there will not be the same tomorrow. We got to keep fresh, and we got to keep our team fresh so they understand the new threats that come into play.
Love it. What a great panel. Tully, where do you see this is headed?
So I think that one is that you've got to make sure that you're reviewing your processes on at least yearly, if not bi-yearly basis. So we do it quarterly, and then we have 1 year that we review all of the processes. And I'm not in the processes for training, yes, but also the software. I think software is the thing that's going to help us be stronger and better. And when you look at great vendors, you've got to make sure you have a vendor that is investing in better technology. Yes, it might cost more. Again, we can't afford to be down. So reviewing your processes, ongoing training, as we all talked about, Ed just mentioned, that should be on a daily basis. Are you publishing out your training? Are you not 100%? And why aren't you? Are you sending the tests out? And then having that yearly review that is a sit down, the most exciting meeting ever about whatever is on your cyber, but it has to happen. And you need to ask the questions to make sure that we have the best protection we possibly can.
Great points, Tully. Shawn, where's it headed?
You know, I think it's an overly used cliche, but I think it's where we are today, but on steroids. I think it takes it here. And to Ed and Tully's both point, it's not a click it and you're one and done thing here. And it goes back to, complete your required training. There has to be an accountability for the people that don't complete the training. And again, I don't want to get anybody in trouble or cross any laws that aren't allowed. But listen, you don't complete your training, you don't get your direct deposit. You got to come get a paycheck, a hard paycheck, because mama didn't get paid. Pardon the pun, but listen, you have to hold people accountable, because if they're not going to do the training, you're going to get burned.
Yeah, amen. Fred, Cuddy, bring it home. Where's all this headed?
Yes, everybody, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful session. We all are totally aware that the cyber risk is only going to evolve. It's only going to get worse, and we have to maintain our diligence. We cannot let our guard down ever, and our employees can't let their guard down. That's why training is important. And we have one additional tool that we use to communicate the risk or things that are happening that our staff should be aware of. So we use a digital tool. We push out notifications when we identify a potential risk or something to look out for. And it's a wonderful tool. I don't want to mention the name, but it is a digital communication tool. And that's part of the process here, is to make sure that we keep our employees informed if there's a risk that they should be aware of. So I use several different sources, as does Belinda, to keep myself aware of what's going on. But I will say this, on the bottom of the admin page for Reynolds Sophos antivirus, there is some information at the bottom of that page. And daily, if you check it, it will keep you up to date on what the risks are. And I make sure that if something needs to be pushed out, I push it out.
Great point. We'll have to leave it there, everybody. Great information, great panel. I want to thank everybody here today. Tully Williams, Belinda Susser, Ed Roberts, Shawn Kingrey, and Fred Cuddy. Thank you so much, everybody. Reynolds & Reynolds is the leader with their PROTON dealership IT product. Helps you build an effective cyber team. You want them as part of your team. For more information, at the bottom of the screen, you could visit them at protontex.com. protontex.com. Very grateful to Reynolds and PROTON Dealership IT. Everybody, the cybersecurity expert panel here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
My morning started like normal, catching up on emails. There was one that I could have sworn was from Lucy, our billing clerk, but apparently it wasn't.
The next day was same as always. There was no way of knowing that someone else was in our system. While we were working, they were searching for data. Passwords, bank information, point of sale systems. It was all behind the scenes. Turns out, they were searching for any valuable data and destroying all of our backups.
I think their goal was to inflict maximum damage. We had antivirus software installed on all of our systems. We thought we were protected. I think that false assurance made us an easy target.
I was the first to notice that my system was completely locked out. No one's computers were working. There was no DMS. We couldn't service cars, write ROs, close deals, anything. Everything came to a grinding halt.
5 different stores for 5 days, completely down, inoperable. It was absolute hell.
Here to get her groove on is the go-to parts girl at PartsEdge, Kaylee Felio.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Kaylee Felio is the go-to parts girl with PartsEdge. She's back with us here at the Roundtable, setting the parts world on fire. Kaylee, welcome back to the event.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
We're excited also, and what a great theme with this FORTSTOCK. And I actually had somebody on the event who attended Woodstock, and so we heard all about that just recently. So Kaylee, it seems that parts is extremely popular, and I think that's by no accident. I believe you have a big part in having made that happen. I want to ask you about that. Why has parts suddenly become, such a big recognized part of what we're doing in fixed ops?
That's really nice of you to say that I'm part of that, because
You are.
it feels like I think there's a lot of variables to it. I think a lot of when we have conversations now, we're not talking about parts and service. We're talking about them both together as one. So I think that's kind of shifted a little bit. A lot of people are just like, it's just one, it's fixed. It's not parts, it's not service, it's just one. But I do think that dealers are realizing how valuable their inventories are, and how much money they have invested in their parts inventory.
You did a segment at the last Fixed Ops Roundtable, and you talked about recognizing your parts inventory as just as important as your used vehicle inventory and keeping tabs on it. Talk to us and tell us a little bit about that, because you're right. You're so right. We keep tabs on that used vehicle, the aging and the reconditioning and making sure it's frontline ready as quick as possible. But in parts, historically, maybe not so much.
Yeah, and I think that parts managers do pay attention to their parts, but I think more so I was trying to capture the dealers and the GM's attention for them to focus on those that area of their inventory as well, because I don't think they track it as closely as what we just said, the used cars. Not to mention the resources and tools that are given to whoever is managing the used car inventory, to be able to stock the right stuff, and we don't tend to give that to our parts managers. So
Yeah. There is a lot of technology now on the used car side, and making sure that they're tracking where the vehicle is at, how long they've had it, what it needs, what the bottlenecks are. And I see that's come to parts as well. Okay, there's a lot of technology, a lot of dealers doing some new things, and PartsEdge, you're a big part of that, Kelley.
we are. We're a big part of the inventory control side of helping parts managers, really optimizing efficiency. There's so many ways that we help parts managers, and I think it kind of varies depending on the level of parts manager. The more seasoned ones, their needs are going to be different than more of a greener parts manager, and we recognize that, and we're able to help in all areas.
So who's reaching out to you more? Is it the newer parts managers, or is it the ones that are seasoned, or is it somebody above them in the dealership or somebody below?
I think actually it feels like the upper management has been reaching out more, whereas before it was so hard when I first started out to get their attention, where now I feel like they're reaching out, especially because they do have someone who's greener or was a really good counter person that they're moving up to a parts manager, and they're wanting to provide that support, because in the past they just kind of threw that person in, and that person knew what they knew, and that was it, or got trained by the person before them, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I think we should always be learning and training and getting better.
You've got a lot of tools online at PartsEdge I've seen that are, complimentary for people. And I see a lot of those resources that dealers and managers are taking advantage of. But Kelley, tell us a little bit about some of the tools that PartsEdge offers to dealers once you're established and working with them at the dealership level. What are some of the things that dealers want and need that you provide at PartsEdge that our audience may not be aware of?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is the efficiency that we provide in utilizing the DMS and making it easier for them to really see what their data looks like and making better stocking decisions. And all of that is done through their market demand and data. And it always boils down to the way you organize your parts and all the different phasing criterias, your pricing. There's so much that you can do with that. And a lot of parts managers, that's why I say that a lot of the seasoned ones are kind of already doing some of it. But we kind of bring in that more of that automation and support to, it's not one of those things where you can just set it. You have to set it and constantly be looking at it.
Yeah. And what are some of the things that you look at PartsEdge that, that dealers need to be aware of? Because, it's easy for something to get out of hand in a short amount of time. I know that.
Yes, it can be. So we look at, I believe, is the true domino effect of obsolescence. And that's, the overall idle inventory. And, I was talking to someone about this recently where we were talking about obsolescence. Obsolescence is just a piece of the idle inventory. Idle inventory is really just parts that aren't selling after, was it 60, 90 days, really tracking those buckets of inventory. So you have your excess stock, your forced stock, your technical obsolescence. So what's really heading at you. So that's what we bring, is showing them the data so that they can make better decisions and track it, have those conversations to really make a difference in their process. Because if you're not tracking it and reviewing it, you're just kind of floating. You're not doing anything to improve.
So when a dealer or dealership gets involved with PartsEdge, I want to ask you, are they already using some kind of tool of their own? Are they using, Excel files, pen and paper? When you go into a store, what do you typically see? Or is it a variety of different things they're doing?
It's a variety. There's a lot of spreadsheets of their own. They use the existing DMS, the reports that are in the DMS, and we do too. So it's just a mix of everything. But we're putting it all into one page and really pulling the important stuff so that they don't have to search for it. I think that's the thing, is all the DMSs do it a little bit differently. And not to mention, I actually just realized too, I've been getting a lot of calls for people who are switching DMSs. Yeah, and that's a huge process.
And I think a lot of times, there's a big decision that's got to be made, whether I renew my DMS with the existing provider or go with a new one. But as a result of that, if there is a change, immediately downstream, that affects parts and the inventory. And so that's something that you deal with as well on a regular basis.
Yeah, we get calls. Actually, recently, someone I had been talking to for a while had switched to a new DMS, and they set it up, but they're not setting it up. How do I phrase it? They're not setting it up in the way that a parts person would actually really set it up. So we really get into like the nitty gritty of the setup and really figuring out what does that person need and what is their market. There's lots of different ways to analyze how the setup needs to happen in a DMS. And we know all the different DMSs, so they're not new to us. So we really help those parts managers that go through that conversion, because they'll figure it out eventually. But do you want to wait that long to figure it out?
Yeah, that's right. That learning curve costs money along the way. So when a dealer brings PartsEdge in, what are some of the first things that you look for, or some of the first questions that you ask, when you're onboarding, if you will, a new dealer with PartsEdge?
Oh, that's a good question. So it's, like I said, it depends on the parts manager. So let's say it's a newer parts manager. For onboarding, it can be overwhelming, honestly, because the parts manager doesn't really know inventory control, or I feel like a lot of times they're like, I have all these questions about the sources or the pricing, and I want to do things, but I don't want to mess anything up. So that's kind of the first step, is we're really getting to know them and their concerns and their questions. And we can address all of those. And then we're going through, okay, we're going to be able to implement that in the DMS for you to help you, or this is why you need all these parts in this source, and separating them. Reviewing matrix and the a customer pay analysis to really drill down into what your how you should be pricing your parts, because if you're having a lot of overrides, your pricing isn't working. So those are all the steps we go through, and really diagnosing, I guess, or I wouldn't say diagnosing, because most of them don't really have really bad problems. It's just really just kind of optimizing and make the whole process more efficient.
That's a good word. You're helping dealers optimize what they have for their inventory. And everybody, we're speaking to Kaylee Felio. She's the sales and marketing manager at PartsEdge, a big part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. If there's any question as to whether parts has risen to the forefront, look no further than the NADA convention coming up in just a few months, where Kaylee Felio is going to be a speaker. Congratulations to you, Kaylee.
Thank you. I still can't believe I'm going to be speaking. But
it's going to be here before we know it. We're in mid-September now, and that's going to be in Las Vegas, very early in the year. Do you know what you're going to be talking about yet, or any idea?
Yeah. So the title is Birthdays Are for People, Not Parts. Unleashing the potential of purposeful inventory management. So everything that we're kind of talking about today, but really just giving a lot of takeaways, I hope, from the presentation, so dealers can go back and try a lot of the things that we talk about all the time with our dealerships.
And there haven't been a whole lot of workshops over the years at NADA on parts. So congratulations to you on that. And also congratulations on a lot of things happening in your life. You got a lot going on, and I think you're going to be welcoming another little one here into the world very shortly.
Yeah, at the end of October. So it's coming up close. So I'll have a new baby at NADA, which will be fun. But I can do it. We figure it out.
Yes, you do. And I just look back in the last 2.5 years, how far you've come, how far PartsEdge has come, as how far parts, is a big part of fixed operations. And you're right, there were silos and have been silos where you have separate focus on service and parts, and now it's kind of all coming together.
It is, but we still have a lot of work to do. I was just talking to a manufacturer that's looking at us to come do some training, and he was mentioning, and this happens all the time, where they're like, we have a lot of service stuff, but parts managers come and they feel like they don't get anything. So
yes.
It's still happening. We got a lot of work to do, but I'm really excited for what PartsEdge is bringing to the table. We have a lot of huge announcements at the end of the year that I can't quite say yet, but it's going to be really great for a lot of parts people.
All right. Well,
and everyone.
All right. That's right, everyone. So we're looking forward to having you come back and tell us about that, Kaylee. So in the meantime, if somebody wants to optimize and use all the tools that you've got available at PartsEdge for their dealership, Kaylee, what's the best way for people to reach out to PartsEdge and, perhaps to you?
You can reach out to me directly. My phone number's listed below. Go to our website, do some research. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So however you want to be communicated with, I will communicate with you. Just I'm happy to talk, even if you just have questions, because we do have a lot of resources out there to help you with your inventory management process.
And you bring a lot of things to the forefront. Also, I want to thank you on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. You've got a panel at this event with an A-list team of folks on there, and you're talking about, I don't want to give away the store, we'll let the panel speak for itself, but AI, and thank you for having that discussion. And I think it's a valuable one, because we're seeing that enter now into more of fixed operations, and just great feedback from the panel that you've got. So we're looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I thought it was really great. There was a lot of positive energy about it. We worked through the challenges that are coming up. And I think the biggest takeaway is just we were in control. And if we can adopt and really utilize what's available to us, we can do so much more. So that's what I got from it.
All right. Kaylee, congratulations to everybody. Please reach out to Kaylee, Felio. They are a certified partner at the Fixed Ops Roundtable at PartsEdge. Congratulations to you on that as well, Kaylee. Congratulations, all things happening as well. And we look forward to seeing you at the upcoming events, the pop-ups as well, when you can make it. And Kaylee, Felio, everybody, PartsEdge.com. Her email, phone number scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Kaylee, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kaylee Felio, everybody, the go-to parts girl from PartsEdge here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Obsessed with creating the perfect inventory? Us too. PartsEdge gives you the tools you need to outpace the competition and provide the highest level of service to your customers. PartsEdge is a powerful tool for parts managers to get the job done faster. Imagine what it was like when the impact wrench arrived. It made mechanics 3 times faster. Getting the job done without the latest technology makes it difficult to keep up. Besides all the other responsibilities you have, you work hard to have all the right parts you need when you need them. PartsEdge was designed by parts people for parts people to make that job a lot easier. PartsEdge saves you 4 to 6 hours every week and can increase your sales by 10 to 20% in just 12 months. Not bad for your bottom line. Take your obsession to perfection with PartsEdge. Call us today to find out what PartsEdge can do for you.
We are Fixed Ops Digital, automotive's premier service marketing and technology company, and creators of the industry's first and only website service experience platform, Spark. We offer fully compliant fixed operations pages and coupon designs unique to every OEM. Our Why Service Here website page and video highlight what makes your dealership unique: certified technicians, OEM parts, online service scheduling, and complimentary amenities. Complete the online service funnel and bring customers to your scheduler with service conversion pages. Each offer on your menu page links to a page specifically designed to educate the consumer while increasing appointment conversion rates. Repair financing integrations for Sunbit and Dignify, so your customers can see as low as payment options directly on the offers. When customers save an offer to their mobile device, a prompt to enter their contact information appears, turning them into a service department lead. Bring in customers who need recall service and collect vehicle data. We've created a recall lookup through license plate numbers. No VIN necessary. With Spark, your service offers can automatically post to your Google Business profile. Our social ads are dynamic, so your ad prices automatically update with your offer menu pages. Dynamic ads mean more consistency across channels for clearer messaging. Spark has over a year's worth of industry-leading GA4 data. Fixed Ops Digital is a founding member of the Automotive Standards Council for GA4 events, and we're dedicated to helping give dealerships a deeper understanding of their website's customer engagement. Data-driven offers management means more service conversions, the lifeblood of what we do. Ready to increase your dealership's service conversions? Connect your fixed operations departments to Spark, the industry's first and only website service experience platform.
It's time to go, go, go with the GOMOTO panel, featuring a segment from our event in Orlando, Florida.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. We have our special guest, Cory Kohler, along with Shawn Kingrey and Tully Williams.
Everybody, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Cory, on behalf of GOMOTO, great honor to have you with us today.
Pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
You know, Cory, Tully Williams always talks to us about the importance of time and the hours. And Tully, you know, one of the things that kiosks can help us do at the dealership is help save us some time and talk to us a little bit more about that.
You think about this in the morning where you have 100 appointments coming in. You can scatter them out, but what happens? They all show up at 7. And I think what we see here is that people are comfortable using kiosks. As restaurants and stores have designed kiosks and people are familiar with them, why haven't we brought that in for our dealerships? And think about when you're looking at a quick lane or a quick lube where you have a lot of maintenance where it's standard. What happens? Instantaneously, all menus are displayed. But we're making it easy for the customer to say yes and get them in and out quickly. Kiosks can really help drive those hours and drive that traffic in. And guess what? Get it to the technician so they can do an inspection, make those recommendations we tell our family members.
Shawn, your thoughts on kiosks helping us get off on the right foot?
It's all about the time. It is all about it's about scheduling what's convenient for the client and not what's convenient for us. With pickup and delivery, and with after hours pickup and before hours pickup. Listen, customers can't come in from 7 to 5 every day. It doesn't work. It has to work what works for them and not what works for us.
Cory, you're on the front lines with GOMOTO. What are you seeing?
For sure. So the ability to kind of offload some of that work is definitely important. The other thing that we find is that there are a lot of the tasks that advisors have to do, things like getting the right phone number and the right email and, asking if you want wipers and things that fall in that line. And the kiosk does that consistently, right? It asks it every time because it doesn't have a bad day. It always shows up. The other thing that we found is it's really helpful in generating interest from the sales side of things, right? So a number of our customers have experienced a lot of success because it's a very soft sell for a consumer to ask if they want a valuation on a vehicle. To be able to very softly say, hey, we'd like to get an evaluation of your car, and we'd be more than happy to do it while it's in for service. So a number of different areas that it falls into play. The other piece that's really key is it's meeting consumers on what their desires are, right? You think about an omni-channel presence, right? I can go and I can talk to a person, or I can go to a kiosk, much like what we're seeing in a lot of the other retail spaces.
And Cory, I learned from GOMOTO on the Fixed Ops Roundtable the importance of how that trade evaluation is a big part of the service process and how GOMOTO includes that. Kiosks also help the service advisors save time throughout the day. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So, you think about going to the doctor, right? The doctor doesn't come in and get your height and your weight and, take your blood pressure and all those things. Those are all kind of the standards that have to happen, but really the magic is when the doctor comes in and he looks over everything and says, here's what's wrong, right? And that's ultimately what we're trying to get to is let's help offload a lot of those tasks that otherwise would have to be done by the tech or by the advisor, and kind of load them up a little bit further in the process so that we're able to spend the time at really looking at the vehicle and identifying items that need to have additional attention taken on it.
Shawn, your thoughts about saving the service advisors some time?
Listen, it's all about time. It's, again, how much more time they get. It's freeing up the phone calls. It's freeing up, again, we'll call it the incidental side of it, the pre-check, all that small stuff. First of all the boxes got to be checked. Otherwise, you can't communicate. You can't track, okay? Tully and I have been on a few of these panels with GOMOTO before. And by the way, GOMOTO doesn't call in sick. It doesn't. It's always there. But it gets those out of the way so the advisor's free to sell hours.
Absolutely. Shawn, I was impressed. You were on that panel that we had on the Spanish language option of GOMOTO earlier this year. And a number of dealers who are using that with great success. Another thing that I don't think many people in the audience were aware of, that the kiosk at GOMOTO offers all these additional things.
It does, and I was unaware of it at the time until we had the panel that it was bilingual. And this year at NADA in Dallas, Texas, we were talking about the pickup and delivery and the advantage that Ford's offering now. And as far as money, they literally programmed that question on the fly. Sitting at the GOMOTO kiosk, they programmed it, and boom, it was up and running. It was a question: would you like us to deliver your vehicles? I can make money on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know, Sarah, you've seen it as well in retail, that the customer's schedule, their life schedule for dropping off the car, does not always match up with the shop schedule, and how that is such an important part of the aspect in scheduling at the dealership as well.
It truly is. You're giving the customer so many more options to choose what works best for them. Some people are going to want to talk to a person. Other people, they don't need all that, and they want to be able to have that flexibility to do things on their terms.
Tully, what do you think?
I think that's awesome because you think about when your driveway is lined up, you are 5-10 cars deep, right? A customer pulls in and what do they think? Oh, this is a nightmare. But you know what? That person can do what? Get out of the car, walk up to the kiosk. I'm just here for my next service. You chop a couple buttons, guess what happens? A menu pops up. They select the menu. We ask if they want evaluation of their car. It falls into the parameter. This is all happening in seconds. And then they hit yes, they sign, and off they go. What more can we ask for instead of that customer waiting maybe an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, where this person is irritated? Now this person is like, wow, that was easy, right? And then what happens when they say they're easy? They buy recommendations that our technicians are recommending. This is what's going to help us drive that repeat and referral business. If your store is a cluster in the morning, this can help you get out of that cluster.
And Tully, I think more and more customers, like you mentioned earlier, are familiar. They use kiosks in other parts of their life. So why not at the dealership?
Correct. If you go into a restaurant that it has a walk-up, do you want to talk to the person or do you want to talk to a kiosk? I'm going to the kiosk, right? I mean, everybody does DoorDash, right? DoorDash is a kiosk. And now they have them at the restaurants. Why would we not that one at the dealership? Why aren't we making sure that everybody has an option to do what they want? If someone wants to sit at a desk and talk to them, perfect, we'll do that. If someone wants to get in and out quick because they're comfortable with it, absolutely. That is what we're trying to do. Just trying to drive repeat referral business and make people happy in the service drive.
Well, and even to expand on that, it's not even the service drive. It's also in mobile. So one of the features that we have built within GOMOTO is the ability to do a mobile check-in beforehand. So very much like what you said, where customers are comfortable on their devices, they're able to go through all the same things that they do with the kiosk process. And really, it's just that last, kind of coming through and making sure that they're there at the dealership. So it's meeting that technology where, really where they expect it. The other thing that's that I really think is helpful is that it helps eliminate a lot of that communication, like the breakdown that happens from the customer to the advisor and ultimately the technician.
Your thought, Shawn Kingrey?
Well, we talked about earlier that the incidentals you have to do, it hits it every single time. It gets the phone number, it gets the email address, it gets the best method of communication. How do they want to be contacted? Is it text message? Is it phone call? Is it email? It never misses. It's consistent every time, 100% of the time.
Absolutely. Cory, talk to us about the importance of that consistency, because a service advisor who works with 8, 10 or more customers per day, as the day goes on, that consistency can lag and fall behind. Talk to us importantly about that.
Studies have shown that we're most productive first thing in the morning, and then it starts dropping off after that, right? So this helps deliver a consistent experience, whether it's 10 o'clock in the morning, whether it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? It's always kind of that same cadence and that same pattern that the consumers become used to whenever they're checking into the store or even, checking out after hours.
Sarah, isn't this exciting to see all these new technologies and trends and how they continue to evolve in our industry?
It's just making the customer experience so much more diverse. You have so many different options for people, and that's what people want. They want to choose what works for them. And Cory, congratulations and thank you for being part of this, because it's really exciting to see what GOMOTO is doing in our industry for that.
For sure. So very grateful to you, Cory, at GOMOTO, changing the landscape of retail fixed operations. And you know what? You continue to evolve, and it gets better and better with more applications as time goes on.
Yeah, certainly. We've been continuing to kind of push that envelope from a technology standpoint. So adding, the ability to do before and after hours, key drop and key return. I mean, I think about, I started almost 20 years ago in service. You guys were talking earlier as a service porter, right? Moved up to advisor and moved over to the dealer services provider side of things. But I think about like how we used to do it, where we left the keys with the cashier, or we locked them in the car, or, some of the things that we would do just out of necessity, where now we're able to incorporate that in, or even the drop box, right? We have a key drop box and it works just great, but a lot of times you lose a lot of stuff in translation that happens through either of those sides of things. So it's really exciting to see where the technology is going and what we're able to help deliver to dealerships to be able to deliver to their consumers.
Everybody, Cory Kohler with us today from GOMOTO here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, along with Shawn Kingrey and Tully Williams. Stay with us. We have a lot more coming up at our pop-up event at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
The customers today, their expectations, I think, are centered around all the technology. Everything is at your fingertips. More people are accustomed to seeing kiosks, accustomed to using those types of devices. I think customers expect that now in the service lane.
With all the technology there is now, customers come in and they just want to be in and out, and they don't want to stand around in line. The GOMOTO kiosk, it's definitely helped with the morning rush. It's helped us eliminate the line that we used to have. Customer now comes in and they're welcomed by one of our greeters. The greeter now goes to the kiosk with the customer, they check in, and then they're on their way.
Before GOMOTO, the backups in the service lane were due to not being able to get to the customer in a timely manner.
There's times where menus are passed over where the advisor forgets to tell them, hey, it needs its major service. And now with the GOMOTO, customers are presented with a maintenance package every time.
The time freed up from not having the customer sitting in front of them every single time they come in, it helps them be more efficient. It helps them focus more on the customer's concern and the maintenance and service of the vehicle. Before GOMOTO, we would average approximately $130,000 in service gross. The kiosk and the service drive doubled the gross profit in the dealership. It's amazing, 100%. Using the GOMOTO kiosk makes the dealership more profitable.
Don't peace out on us just yet. Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable FORTSTOCK event.
Our next speaker has got an offer you can't refuse. Please welcome Micah Tindor with the Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Service drive acquisition has never been as important as the last few years. We're seeing that at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have with us today one of the industry experts from KBB. Micah Tindor is with us. He's the Senior Director at Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer. Micah, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. I am delighted to be here. Been listening to you guys for a long time. Excited to be on.
Yeah, honored to have you. Honored to have Cox Automotive and KBB with us, at these events. You folks do a great job. And as I alluded to in the opening, I've never seen such a focus on vehicle acquisition and all the different best practices we've heard over the last few years. And I want to talk to you today with our audience because the market is changing, rapidly changing. And I want to get some of the best insights from you as possible. But first, if you kind of, open things up today, Micah, give us a general overlook. Why is service drive acquisition so important right now?
I think there's two reasons right now, Ted. One is that inventory is still fairly tight on the used side. And then secondly, there's a really good opportunity to buy high value vehicles out of service drive. If you think about inventory being tight, it's data that's been in the market that everyone knows, but there's a couple points I think are worth noting. Used supply, days supply of used vehicles is down. If you look at it year over year, while it's definitely improving on the new car side, year over year, we're still down. And it doesn't really matter which month you look at, it's down versus prior year. At the same time, wholesale supply is down. If I just pick a random month, if I pick like July, for example, it was down 3 days. So there's less used vehicles in the market than there has been historically. Wholesale supply is down, and that really drives a focus towards needing to acquire from consumers, whether it's through trade-ins off the street or through service drive. So service drive is becoming an important focus. The one other item I mentioned, though, is the quality of a vehicle you can get out of service drive. I was looking at the Profit Time GPS data that grades vehicles from 1 to 12 or from a bronze up to a platinum vehicle. And very interestingly, the average service drive vehicle scores an 8 or a 9 out of 12. Wow. That compares to a 1 or 2 coming out of the service, coming out of an auction. So if you can buy a car out of service, you're much more likely to be getting a high grade car that's going to need less recon work. So there's a lot of, again, focus on buying those high value vehicles out of service right now.
Did you say only a 1 or 2 at the auction compared to the super high number on the service drive?
Yeah, service drives right now is an 8 or 9. Auction's a 1 or 2, but we have to take that with a grain of salt, right? That's across all vehicle types. So it's blending in the $500 vehicles and blending in the G-Wagons that are being sold. But overall, yes, what we see coming in is that it starts lower grade and requires some recon to get it up to frontline ready status. So yeah, 8 or 9 coming out of service. So it's a high scoring car, super desirable for the variable ops side.
Isn't it amazing that dealerships will go to the auction and they will spend all the money, right, to get the vehicle from the auction, yet on the at the dealership level, we'll pinch pennies, and we're not quite sure if we should stretch a little bit. So I want to talk to you about that, because the market's changed. We've seen a lot of evolution. 2021 and 2022 were certainly nowhere what we expected would happen in 2020.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the best vehicles, and I think our audience will agree with you. They come from the service drive. But why is that acquisition from the service drive, Micah, important not only to the fixed ops department, but to the entire dealership?
I think the variable ops answer is probably the easy one, right? You're getting those high value vehicles. The customer's showing up for a service appointment, so they're probably not going to want to walk home when you flip them. So it's likely you're going to flip them into a new or used vehicle there. And a lot of consumers are out there. The average consumer has 2.6 cash offers now at the time that they trade in their vehicle. So they're trade-in shopping. If you're able to hit someone in service who might not be in that trade-in shopping cycle, you get a little cost to market advantage. So it's pretty obvious on the variable ops side. But I think personally, as an industry, we haven't done the best job of articulating the really serious value add that comes to the fix ops side of the table if you buy out a service. And really, I think it's three things. It's resetting the clock on service engagement. It's driving new revenue. It's increasing loyalty. And the way that I tend to think about it is we've all seen that data around how engagement from consumers with dealership fix ops declines as they come out of warranty. And with S&P Global Mobility's data coming out a couple weeks ago, it says the average vehicle on the road is now 12 years old. There's more and more vehicles that are shifting away from what has historically been the key fixed ops customer. But as you buy that car out of service and get them into a newer vehicle, you're resetting that engagement clock. So you get to restart that really sweet spot. Secondly, it's guaranteed revenue into the fixed ops department. You just did your service writer just did the write-up, found everything it needs done. Used car department buys it, and now they need to get that car frontline ready. So all that work has to be done anyways. So it's going to be driving that revenue, often at a little bit better margin as well, a little markup, right back into the fixed op department. And then lastly is loyalty. And we talked about that timeline of really tight engagement. Let's put on a customer hat for a minute. I'm coming into service. I got a $650 out-of-pocket expense that I'm facing. Instead, the service department introduces me this gal from sales. She helps me flip into a new vehicle at almost the same price. I'm no money out of pocket driving something newer when I leave. That is a fantastic loyalty experience. That's the kind of things I tell my friends about. Hey, I went and Ted hooked me up with this brand new vehicle. I'm not paying any extra. I didn't even have to pay money out of pocket. Let's go have a drink. I'm buying tonight. So I think you see that loyalty thing. So from the fixed op side, to me, it's all about resetting that service engagement clock, getting that guaranteed revenue coming from the used car department, and then driving that loyalty from those interestingly unexpected experiences.
I like what you're doing with Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer. I noticed, I couldn't help but notice as it burst onto the scenes, just a couple of years ago. What are some of the key best practices that you're seeing right now to execute this whole thing with excellence?
There's really four that we see, and it is a technology bridge, building process, a consistent appraisal that includes mechanical, and aligning pay plans. But what we see is from a best practice perspective, it all starts with technology. Absolutely, you can run an effective service drive acquisition program without technology, but it's a lot harder. Obviously, anytime we put in technology, there's a change management and there's process change management. If you have technology that can connect your incoming service drive appointments into your inventory management tool where the variable ops team can figure out what they need to target, and then into your appraisal tool to have a smooth offer, it just makes it easier for everybody. There's less running around, there's less back and forth, and it removes one of those two pillars of work you have to do when installing a new program. So we always say the best idea is to find a technology to connect your service drive opportunities to your inventory management system, to your appraisal system. Secondly, and probably most importantly, is to align a process that fixed and variable ops are going to use. And there aren't any specific steps that I can say have to be done because each dealership's a little different. But a few of the things to consider are what vehicles fit into your acquisition strategy, how are you going to communicate it to the customer, and where within the service writer's engagement flow are you going to have that appraisal opportunity inserted. So either way, it doesn't matter if you do 2 steps or 10 steps. What matters is that you have a process, everyone's clear on it, and everyone executes against that process. Third is a consistent appraisal process. We say that everyone talks about consistent appraisal process, but the importance in Service Drive is that the Service Drive is able to provide all of Service's historical information on the vehicle from the mechanical side. Looking at vAuto data, we found that Recon estimates at time of appraisal are often $750 too light because it's not a good enough job identifying mechanical. So got to ensure that you take that gold nugget of mechanical condition of the vehicle that already exists in the service department and port that in for the appraisal process. And then lastly, you can do those first three and have a program, but if you really want it to run effectively, you're gonna need to build an aligned pay plan. And the reason I say that, I'm a service writer. You bring a vehicle in, I write you up for $1,200. Sales flips you into something new. I'm out $1,200. So there needs to be a way to motivate the service writers and service managers and service directors to align pay plans so that they see some benefit when the used car department benefits from flipping that vehicle. So it's those four. We say a technology bridge, alignment of fixed and variable ops process, consistent appraisal that includes mechanical, and some level of an aligned pay plan so that everyone's rowing the same direction in the boat.
You know, Micah, you mentioned vAuto, and vAuto's been a big part of the roundtables. We've had a number of people from vAuto on the show. A gentleman by the name of Dale Pollock's been on many, many times and speaks with authority. When he speaks, people listen, right? And vAuto has talked a lot about the reconditioning process, and we've heard now at the roundtable, you know, we get a lot of used vehicle and reconditioning managers who are watching intently and hanging on every word that you say. So let's talk a little bit about reconditioning. How does that Service Drive acquisition impact the Recon process?
I love that you asked that question, Ted. I started in the industry in Recon 15 years ago. My dad's been doing reconditioning for 38 years now. So love that you asked that question. It's really all about speed and visibility in its benefit to Recon. If you're buying a car out of the service drive, the vehicle's sitting in your facility. When we look at Recon turn times, often you see 1 to 4 days soaked up by transportation. That's when you already own the vehicle, it's on your floor plan, but it's just being driven around. That time goes away. So your speed to market and your ability to accurately identify your price to market as a result is a lot better. The second place that it really benefits is that you already have all the service information historically, as we've already mentioned, and you have the vehicle in the facility right now. So it's an instant start on the service side. You can order parts immediately. You can schedule a bay immediately, potentially even put it up onto the rack that was going to be customer work. Now it's just used car work. So it really accelerates the reconditioning process by getting a jump start on it. And we all know that speed to market is what it's all about and getting the car frontline ready. So it's enabling that speed to ensure that the price to market you put on it right now is the same price to market that you go to market with when it's frontline ready.
Everybody, we're speaking to Micah Tindor. He's the Senior Director at Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer, talking about Service Drive acquisition and reconditioning. Reconditioning runs in his blood. It runs in the family, and we're hearing a little bit about that. Micah, let me just hone in a little bit on that. If a dealership gets alignment across all the departments, what does success look like for a dealer, you know, where you've seen this work really, really well?
It all depends on the level of focus the dealer puts on it. But let me provide you with a couple of examples of what we're seeing dealers use. And normally I'm not one to go out and plug a Cox Automotive tool in a chat like this. But I need to explain a couple connection points just to help explain what dealers are seeing as success. The Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer Service Drive Acquisition tool takes the service drive appointments out of X times, put them into Profit Time GPS, so you can figure out what your cost to market, price to market is, and then connects it to Instant Cash Offer to serve up an offer. The reason I wanted to identify that is because I wanted to show 3 examples of customers that are putting different focuses on it and what they're getting back. We have a dealer that's running that Instant Cash Offer Service Drive Acquisition tool. We released it at NADA. They immediately signed up and they bought 93 cars in the first 5 months on the program. So that comes out to 19 cars a month that they're buying through the program. And they're seeing 19 cars a month because they're putting an offer on every single vehicle. In that technology bridge, they're using it to every single customer comes in is getting an offer. We have a number of other dealer partners who are on the opposite end. They poured in their service drive appointments and they really finely tuned their inventory acquisition strategy out of Profit Time GPS and are only buying metal vehicles that match their inventory need at that exact time. We see those dealers are averaging somewhere between 4 and 5 vehicles purchased out of the service drive a month. So someone who's really being selective is getting 4 or 5 of those really pristine, high-grade vehicles are moving in. Someone who's really pushing hard on it and using the tech bridge, seeing about 20. And I know of one dealership down in Florida. You might know who this is when I say it. There was a time when they hadn't bought a car from auction in 4 years because they bought 100% of their vehicles either out of the service drive or out of customer trade-ins. So depending on how much focus a dealer wants to put on it, they can see anywhere from 4 to 20 cars a month just using average. If they want to slot a couple people into the service department from the sales side, have them talk to every single person, put appraisals on all the cars in person, you might even be able to get up into that 80 to 120 a month at that one outlier dealer in Florida. But really, any dealer who has the right tech stack and aligns on those 4 best practices can expect to get at minimum 4 to 5 cars a month, maybe up to about 20 if they really put a heavy focus on it.
Wow. Fantastic information and very relevant here in the middle of September, heading into the fall, heading into the winter. And
that time where it's a little bit harder to get customers coming in, vehicles coming in if you're from the northeast like you and I.
That's right. All right. Well, Micah, thank you so much today. Everybody, Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer is the leader in the industry. You could visit them at the URL that's at the bottom of the ticker here on the screen. Micah Tindor is the Senior Director of Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer. I've seen you on LinkedIn, Micah, and I know you're active on social media. So it's possible our audience may even reach out to you personally. But I want to thank you for all the great information today.
Ted, I appreciate the opportunity to be on. Hope you have a fantastic afternoon. Looking forward to the rest of the guests here in the rest of the sessions.
Absolutely. Honor to have you, Micah. Micah Tindor, everybody, from Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Your customers are taking better care of their cars and keeping them longer. This means your service lanes are bustling, but it also means less inventory is coming in on trade. Use this trend to your advantage and uncover acquisition opportunities with Service Drive Acquisition, a new solution from Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer that comes at no additional cost. Service Drive Acquisition turns your service lanes into a sourcing channel so you can acquire vehicles at a lower cost to market directly from customers with whom you've already established a trusting relationship. Analyze service appointments to identify vehicles that will be profitable, and even increase your opportunities to sell another vehicle to your service customers. A trusted offer for their trade-in can make it that much easier for shoppers to purchase the car they want from you, continuing to build up a loyal customer base for your dealership. Plus, Service Drive Acquisition makes it easy to integrate Instant Cash Offer with your current solutions, including X-Time, VIN Solutions, and vAuto Profit Time GPS. They help you identify the right cars for your dealership's inventory strategy at the right price to drive even more profitability. See how you can send offer invites to customers before their appointment, create an offer on the spot in your service lanes, or even send them an offer after their appointment, all to help you win more quality cars directly from your customers. Contact your sales or performance manager or visit b2b.kbb.com/servicedrive today.
This panel is far out. Join the superstars of Fixed Ops on the Fixed Ops Magazine panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It is always great to see the Fixed Ops Magazine panel led by none other than the publisher, Ron Overs. Ron, we saw you over the summer in Orlando. Ron, welcome back to the event.
Thank you so much, Ted. This is a great group to be part of.
Yeah, it is. Really proud to be associated with everybody here. You got the A-list, the superstars are here with you. So I'm excited to hear what you're going to have to share. So.
Well, thank you, Ted. This is a great group. You know, I was talking to somebody from Toyota the other day, and they were saying, well, where do you get your resource of information? And I said, oh, I just picked the minds of the best people in the industry. How hard is that, right? And, you can borrow a little from this guy, a little from that lady, a little from these people. And next thing you know, you've got a great rounding of what's really going on in the industry. So it's awesome.
You're so right. Ron, I'll step out of the way and I'll let you get the action started.
Thank you so much, Ted. So guys, we've gotten through 3/4 of the year. Hard to believe, right? When we were talking in January or February, a lot of trepidation about what, 2023 was really going to be. A lot of reasons why things weren't going to go right, but things have gone right. As I understand it from most of you, it's been quite a great year. But let's go around the room for a little bit and tell me about your first 3/4, and then we'll talk about the end, what our plans are to finish strong and what you need to work on to make that happen. But let's talk about those first 3/4. Tom, can you start us off? Tell us what's going on.
Sure thing. Thanks, Ron, first of all, for having me here on this panel. First 3/4 of the year really have been incredibly successful, as I've been hearing from counterparts all across the country. I think that what we're experiencing is a bit of a roll up from the last couple of years where we've had a shortage of new car inventory, some people that are holding on to vehicles for longer than they normally would, doing some repair work, some maintenances, some tires, some brakes, some things that normally would be the tipping point for them getting rid of the vehicle. I think that we're still at a point where some of the brands still don't have the new inventory that's there. Customers are opting to repair those vehicles and hold on to them a little bit longer than they normally would while they wait for those new cars. So that's a fantastic side effect for us on the fixed side, is that we benefit from that. But then we're also seeing some of the people that waited or that didn't want to wait, and bought used cars where they normally would have bought new, that now we're 2-3 years in, and it's time for them to do, again, brakes, tires. But those used vehicles, now they're in a position where they're holding on to them. There's just not the quick flip that they used to have. That 2 to 3 year time period and get rid of vehicles isn't necessarily the same thing anymore. And as a result, fixed ops is really kind of getting a chance to be the hero here.
It really is a place to be. There's no question about that. And how about you, Ed? What are you seeing?
Well, it's been a great 2023 for us. We're about to wrap up the third quarter. We've had some months that we've been over 40% over last year. Most of our months has been mid 30s. Had one or two that, I can say one. It was in the upper 20s. And I'd take my worst month as a percentage of increase as all of them if I had to choose. And so overall, we've been up about 34% year over year, and it was already a big store last year. So you move that 34%, that's huge. We are very close. Since I'm on the COO side, I got to talk sales as well a little bit. We're very close moving in the top 10 for Ford in not a metro market. We're 11th right now year to date, and we're hoping to move into that top 10 spot. We're not hoping. We're going to drive into that top 10 spot. But tons of opportunity for us in fourth quarter. I want to double my mobile fleet in the final quarter, and I think we can get that done and do that to help better set up our appointments as they roll into the store. So tons of opportunity in front of us. And if we can pull those things off, or as we pull those things off, it'll create the same type of growth in 2024 as we've been blessed with in 2023.
Well, there's no one that would say, 3/4 of the way through a year, up 30 or 40%, that's nothing more than astounding. That's just amazing, amazing numbers. Shawn, how about yourself? How are things going?
I'm going to mirror what Ed said. Our percentages are huge. I came to a group that I've been very vocal about that didn't have a lot of processes in place, that I was fortunate enough through Ted, through the Roundtable, and through Ron, through you, that we brought some vendor partners in. Obviously, John Fairchild's with us now. We brought Traver in. We've got X-Time up installed. We're just getting started. But, to know that you can take a group in the first 3/4 of the year and be up $2 million year over year with only 8 small stores in Wisconsin, you wouldn't have thought that possible, and I'm going to jump to what they said earlier also, is you can't forget the fact that they're starting to sell some cars again now. I know that's what we're going to talk about in the second part of it, but the fact that they're starting to sell some vehicles is good for us next year. You can't forget the fact what they sell this year, we get to service next. And we kind of missed that, I think, a year ago. So knowing that we're up, I think it's who knows where we could have been. And I'm guessing by Ed's conversation, except for 1 month, July was are not our friend of a month because of the way the calendar fell, July 3rd being on a Monday and July 4th. Good news, that's past us, and the last quarter should be just as strong.
Really nice. Robert, how about yourself? Tell me about what's going on there.
We are having some phenomenal numbers coming across. We are at my CDJR store specifically here. We're probably upwards in about the 200% increase year over year just from where we are. Now that's a great thumbs up. I appreciate that, Ed. That is a building block from when I took over. They got this franchise about 6-7 years ago, about 2019, and it's been a bumpy road for them. And since I've gotten down here the last year and a half, 2 years, we've put the works in and built up the shop. We've increased our capacity with technicians across the board, started growing our own, and really kind of seeing the fruit of our labors pay off here as we're growing. And it's going to be an interesting term for 2024 as we keep going. We're busting at the seams as it is now. So we're in the development stage of what's next, either second shift or more brick and mortar. We got to do something to keep growing. So we're enjoying it.
Very nice. Tully, you selling some hours over there?
We are selling some hours. I'm going to follow the trend as well. As double-digit growth is huge for us, and I think that it starts with us. I think the first 3 quarters were all about processes that we were developing through COVID, and really showed the teams the processes work. The check-in, the videos, the inspections, the same-day sellings, and it really have driven everybody to where 130% of our hours forecast is our standard, right? And that's almost 13 hours a technician every day of their life. So we have really had a great quarter, and I think it's because our team believes in the process and believes in making customers happy.
It's pretty incredible. So, John, you work with some of these rock stars now, but you may also come across a few people that aren't exactly rock stars. What do you see going on around there in the first 3 quarters of this year? What's happening out there?
Ted was actually nice enough to have me on that pop-up event last week, and or whenever it was. It was pretty great. He asked me a question recently: is what's new in the service business? And there's a lot new. There's a lot of service lane tools. There's a new DMS that's storming the community that a lot of dealers are adopting. There's new tablets, kiosks, gadgets. But I will say that any of those or any best practice or any word tracks really doesn't work unless we work it. So it's really all about fundamentals, just like it always has been. And, somebody mentioned, Tom, you mentioned the fleet getting older and older. And, as I look at the average age of a vehicle in the shops that I work with, and I pull the mileage out, that customer pay mileage is getting towards 100,000 miles on average. And so what does that mean? I mean, one of the foremost things it means to me is my average customer is out of warranty, right? And if I ask those kind of customers, if I'm doing some consultative advising versus just, I think there's a buzzword in the community that's always been there. It's called upsell. And I think upsell can have a negative connotation. And if we're taking a consultative approach rather than just selling people stuff and trying to soak their wallet or perform a wallet flush on them, that it's not going to be effective. And my good friend Ted talks about something that he's calls the law of reciprocity. And so if I'm paying it forward and putting these deposits in the pay it forward bank with my customer, they're a lot more likely, among other things, 2 things. They're a lot more likely to forgive me if there's a glitch, right? But the second thing is they're a lot more likely to listen to my recommendations. And being consultative is really learning what your customer actually needs from their vehicle. So one thing I would challenge all your guys that's got a retail service drive right now is are your advisors asking your customer, how long do you plan on keeping your car? I see it's got this kind of mileage. And then we've got a foot to stand on that we're actually not selling snake oil, but we're actually helping that customer to get the most mileage or whatever they need out of the car. They may even tell us that they're leasing it, but at least now as an advisor, I know how to give that customer the best advice. So really, that's what's been going on. Nothing happens without execution. And if we can create a rhythm and a cadence of accountability in the service drive, a big part of what I do is coaching the coach. And so that's what I've been doing all year. Is I've got really three functionalities for a dealership. Is one is consulting, so that's knowing what to do. That's process development. It's analysis. It's having seen so many scenarios, you know what works and what sometimes doesn't work. It's being an expert with whatever DMS it is. And then we've got training. Training is teaching, right? But a lot of the time we train ourselves through, not a lot of the time, all the time, we train ourselves through the habits we do or do not do. And that's been exacerbated through the last period with COVID because we've left people short-staffed, we've put people in positions that had no training. And so you train yourself through your own habits. So a lot of times when I embark on a new program at a customer, at a new client, I'm asking them to get uncomfortable and do something they're not used to doing. And I kind of put it to this way to the group I was talking to today. If you're right-handed, you wake up tomorrow and you start brushing your teeth with your left hand, it's going to be very awkward. You'll get it done, but it's going to be awkward. So that's kind of what I ask them to do. But the third most important thing I do for dealers is coaching. And I aim to coach the coach because I'm going to leave. But if I don't have accountability in place, as soon as I leave this dealership, the training I've done is likely to, in large part, evaporate. And so really the fourth part of the fourth quarter of this year is really going to be focusing on the same fundamentals, the same cadence of accountability, and aiming for execution. And one of my dealers puts it this way: let's start with chocolate and vanilla, and then we'll add sprinkles. And so I think it's important that we've got each piece systematic and become a religion before we go on to the next piece, Ron.
Well, that's exactly what it's about. Consultative selling has been around for a long, long time, but hasn't really gotten into the service departments of a lot of dealerships. So
Yes.
that's so true. So Sarah, we're talking about training. What do you know about that? I think
Well,
quite a bit.
Yeah, it's exciting because, this is one of the pieces that I've been so excited about with the final stage of this year is bringing more awareness to some of what we call the durable skills that have really been largely ignored across the dealerships in the last few years. And I just want to share a little bit. So we've been very successful the last few quarters of this year, but the biggest thing that we are embarking on is our new initiative, and how we're describing it is building better humans. And at the end of the day, when we think about our dealerships and we think about the personnel within it, we talk about data, we talk about processes, we talk about best practices, but none of that matters if you don't really understand who your people are, what's going on in your organization, what the culture is like, and having the insights to act intelligently on that information. And so we've built what we've called our performance suite to really take a holistic approach to the dealership and embrace really the entire customer experience across all the departments that they interact in. And so we understand the BDC is an important part of the customer communication channel. We know a service advisor is going to continue that bridge when the car comes in person, or if it's done mobily like in Ed stores. We have to have that cohesive approach to really meet the customer where they are. And all that communication has to be identical really in terms of how we frame it with all of our departments. And so teaching people the durable skills, being able to flex and recognize where the customer is, those are the pieces that we're continuing to enhance. And so it's really, really exciting to really frame training around the human instead of the process.
Those are some incredible good points. And it is so true, right? Just you're working with real people, and those real people have to communicate well with the customer. And without that, boy, what do we got? It's interesting. We just went around the room. We talked about this, and I didn't hear, somehow I'm getting by, but I can't get technicians. And, our biggest problem is defection, man. We're just losing our customers to Costco, and we're losing our customers to, all those things do exist. Okay. But we've learned how to manage all of those things and take each customer, look them in the eye and tell them, hey, there's a reason for this. I shared one time that my son works for General Motors, and, they spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to decide what is the right tire to put on the car. And then your customer, in their brilliance, decides to walk into a discount store and find out what tire is the cheapest tire he can find to put on that car, because his shoes are worn out. Now, they may work. Now, the car may stop, but it may take 20 or 30 feet longer. Well, that's 1 or 2 cars he's just plowed through. So maybe that, a few bucks he saved on tires wasn't really such a great idea. But, if you don't communicate that message, where's the customer going to hear that? He's got to hear that in your service department. So it is absolutely so important today to really get across to your customers how important it is. And it looks like you're doing that, right? First 3 quarters of this year, you guys are getting the story told. And congrats to John, congrats to Sarah for your training, because it's working. We're getting the job done. Most of the people I talk around the country say, hey, you know what? I'm having a pretty darn good year besides interest rates being as high as they are, and with all the problems we are having. I really am getting things done, and that's pretty exciting stuff. So tell me again what you're going to be doing for the fourth quarter. You're going to coast in? You're going to just sit on your laurels and ride to the finish? Here comes the coronation. It will be here in December, and you'll be all set? Probably not. So Tom, tell me what the last quarter of this year looks like to you.
No, it is keeping the pedal to the metal. That's kind of the theme for the fourth quarter. We want to keep the momentum that we've picked up throughout the course of the year, keep that going right through the end of the year. I think the trickiest part currently is managing the stress levels. Most of our stores, for the most part, we're solid as far as technician count, advisor count, all of those things. But when you've got such a pent up demand, and you've got this high demand, you've got schedules in some cases that are 2, 3, 4 weeks out, customers that want to come in, you've got, all of this added volume that you're pushing through. Even a Ferrari can only run at max RPMs for so long before you have a catastrophic failure. So watching for the signals of those issues, addressing them before they pop up, so that you can keep that machine running and allow them to stay full on the throttle through the end of the year. That's kind of the focus right now.
Well, I just got this thing in the mail that said something about, maybe you guys can help me read it, because it is all about the hours. And but no, fourth quarter for us, as I said earlier, we're going to double our mobile fleet, and we are going to set ourselves up to take care of our customers when they roll in. We're going to have their vehicle diagnosed and things waiting for them when they get here for that appointment that they've had to wait for, so that we can minimize loaner days and all those things. We're going to shift to become progressive on setting ourselves up for that appointment, rather than bringing it in, diagnosing it, order parts, let it sit here, put the part on, deliver it back to our customer. We're going to go check it out, let them know, hey, it's safe to drive. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Have the part here, 1 day in and out. That's the plan for fourth quarter. And as that evolves, I'll probably have to double the mobile fleet again next year.
It's such a great way to do business. There's no question. There was a Ford dealer that I took my Mach-E into, and somebody opened their door into my door and put a little smile on it. So I went to the local Ford dealer. No, that's Ed's store. And but I called ahead and told them that I had this little issue in my life, which my wife was not so thrilled about. And like I had done this. No, it was not me. Someone had opened their door into my door. But the reality was, called Ed, and he said, you know what? Don't come in till Wednesday, because Wednesday Mr. PDR shows up. Mm-hmm. So you come in on Wednesday, like we make your car, we make your life better on Wednesday. We bring it in today, and yeah, you're riding around some other piece of equipment that's really not yours. And you know what? Why don't you make it Wednesday? And you know how great that was, to in and out one day, things were done, and life is better. So just that planning ahead, that thinking things through, making it work, making that one stop in and out, not a couple of stops, makes a huge difference. Worked out great. So no, great team. It worked out super. So all good. Shawn, how about you? What's your fourth quarter looking like?
For me, Q4 is really hammering the first 3 quarters. Coming here in November and getting the culture shock kind of that I did here. and the fact that they weren't doing inspections, they weren't doing walkarounds, that kind of thing. I think Q4 for me is I need to hammer Q1, 2, and 3 very hard, so that what comes in Q1, which up here in the winter tends to be a little bit softer, because it does snow in Madison, Wisconsin, despite what Teddings might tell you. But so that way, when I launch what I'm going to do in Q1, 2, and 3, we got it down, and we're in Q4. So realistic, continue what we're doing. We won't up in the throttle. It's full throttle all the time. And Ed, I'm hoping that I get the same thing in my mail when I get home tomorrow. So but that's really where I'm at. I want to hammer what we're doing. I don't want to be the flavor of the month. I want them to know the basics that we're doing are going to work, and they're proven to work. And by the way, it's showing everybody's paycheck all the way from the front to the back.
That is amazing. That's great. Robert, how about you? What's fourth quarter look like for you?
For here, it's just going to be keep raising the bar. We're on track with this final quarter and everything we're projecting to set the best year we've ever had. So I don't want it to be a fluke thing. I want 2024 to shine even brighter. So we're just going to keep pushing through, keep building, keep growing, and just keep doing what needs to be done at the end of the day, which is taking care of our customers, sending our technicians home rich and happy, and selling a bunch of hours here, like Tully says. It's all about that. It's been huge down here. We're in a small market. We're in the middle of Western Virginia, and we do surprisingly well. We got a strong market share in where we are, and just continuing to grow that and making sure that we're selling that CMA pride to everybody in the area and using our brand around. So it's going to be good. It's going to be strong, and just going to be a lot of digging in, a lot of pushing.
Fantastic. Tully, fourth quarter, what's happening?
Tom said it, I think, pretty well about talking about our employees. I think that we are really worried about, work-life balance and making sure that our hours are, and we've been blessed, it's 7:30 to 5. We close at 5, which is, in my time was like, afternoon. And I think that we get that quality of life. And the next thing is, because especially with the brands, is that we want to make sure people are writing up 8 to 12 ROs a day. You might say, Tully, doesn't seem very much. But if we write 8 to 12, the stress level for our writers has gone down, ensuring that we believe in that process. When I look at the success of a store, I don't look at the year-over-year growth as much as are we selling the capacity of our stores? And that really triggers into the next step is our goals were 100 when I started 5 years ago. Now our target is 130, and we're blowing through it. So fourth quarter is how do we get to 140 and get our techs even richer and tired? But those are processes that the best way for a tech to make hours is work on the car on the rack, and that makes sure that we're selling properly at the time of sale. The final piece is that I believe in retention, we're repeat and referral, and our focus on fourth quarter will be tires as we are bringing in the tire drive-over machines. We're very excited. There's been some delays in those, but I think we're finally past that part. And we really believe right now we're selling at 30% reds. That means I'm looking at red tires, I sell 30%. Now, everybody says, Tully, that's not a very big number. I don't think it's a very big number, especially when the average is less than 10. But our target is 50, and our stretch is 75% red tires. And that is really going to be a huge success for us. I hope, it will start with great contests, because celebrating the wins to me is everything. So when those drive-over machines comes, there'll be some really exciting contests and really drive that repeat and referral business, which is really about tires. Ed does it well with, he has the mobile vans and it's been the tire business forever. I'm just getting started. So fourth quarter for us looks really exciting.
Now that's fantastic. And Tully, one of the things I do appreciate about you is you do show us your blemishes as well as your just sizzling successes in your business. And, it's so easy for people to say, life is good, we're doing everything right. It's also great to point out, what, we have room for growth. And this is where we're just a little weak, and we need to get better at it. And, part of that is just figuring out what it is. Why are just 10% or 30% of the people? Why do 70% of the people walk out of the store, with worn out shoes? I mean, that's a problem, right? I mean, they're not safe. They're not protecting themselves. You need to protect them from themselves and help them.
It's a mindset on the tires, because there's no money in it. And I think that you have to change the mindset that we're in the repeat referral business and we sell hours. but it starts with repeat and referral. And what drives repeat and referral the best is, being in the tire business. You have to plan for it. I've been planning for it for 6 months, so we're super excited.
Fantastic. So John, we're back down to you. Tell me about this fourth quarter. Where's your focus?
I love following Tully, and I in no way, shape, or form have more excitement about this business than him. But somebody just handed me a handwritten note. Is you can't bank hours, right, Tully? You can't put them on a shelf and get them tomorrow. We gotta get them today. And so one thing that Tully does a fantastic job of is scoreboarding. And, I live under the principles of the 4 disciplines of execution. And that's really what we're rolling out at the Kaiser Group as we're here is if I don't know where I'm at against my goal, it's much harder to get there. So fourth quarter is really about more execution and, having the discipline to execute within the whirlwind of everything going on. That's the key. There are so many necessary evil things that happen in your business every day, but we got to remember, it's just that somebody just gave me is you can't bank hours. We got to get as many of them as we can today. And if we don't know how many we have already, how do we know that we're going to meet our goal? And so a lot of people will say, hey, I work as hard as I can anyway. But believe me, what you measure, you can improve. And guys, a scoreboard cannot be paralysis by analysis. Tully is the master on this. You got to be able to glance at it and within a moment know, am I winning or losing? And then the second thing is using that scoreboard to create that accountability ongoing. Are we doing scoreboard huddles? Are we challenging our team to give us the action plan of what's going to get them out of the red? And so really, again, it's all about fundamentals for the fourth quarter or any quarter. But I think that we're really in a good position to hammer that home and make sure that we are executing so that we can start adding some of those sprinkles to the chocolate and vanilla.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. That's so important, to get us to the finish. Sarah, about 100 years ago, I took a Myers-Briggs test and realized that I wasn't a normal person. The Myers-Briggs test gives you come up with some little 4 letter acronym that says this is who you are, and in the room everybody raised their hand and said I'm an EFG or whatever the 4 were, and I was like one person who mine were all different than everybody else's, and it was one of those moments that I was like, dear, I'm just going to be a different person. This is how it's going to work. Okay, I'm going to be out here and I'm going to see things differently than other people. And when you're training people, right, you run into that all the time. You guys really focus on, like you said, working with the individual and helping them become better at what they are. What do you see this fourth quarter turning out to be, or how are you going to go about it?
Well, the momentum has been really exciting. And so the feedback that we've consistently received from our dealers that we've embraced and that we're rolling out at the end of the year is really this sense of community, right? And community meaning, how do I collaborate with the thought leaders and the people and across our different organizations that are doing things effectively? What works in multiple marketplaces? How do I just get information? And so what we've created is really a way for what we call our community managers to be even more impactful with our dealers and offer more avenues for their employees to learn. So I mentioned the Performance Suite is something that we've brought to the marketplace that really addresses the sales department, BDC, service, and leadership across dealership organizations. But the other piece that we're bringing out in the fourth quarter that's really exciting is we'll be able to offer our clients the ability for people across any department to engage in different types of learning on different schedules that work for them. And so we have a content calendar where an existing client can plug in people across multiple departments to learn about other facets of the dealership. And so, for example, a couple times a month, we'll have receptionist classes where a receptionist can get communication skills and learn some of the best practices on how to greet customers, how to transfer calls, what are some of the things that they need to be mindful of, and what pieces of information should they be reporting back to the leadership in the organization. Well, that's something that we got that information from our dealer clients. Those are great ideas that we get from dealerships all across North America. to continue to enhance the experience of learning and, as I mentioned, building better humans. So we're really excited about this initiative in the fourth quarter of this year to really bring about a roundness to how we approach dealership training. And so instead of it being, just one facet in one department or having availability to learn given to a select few departments, what we really wanted to create is a way that we can open it up to anybody and everybody in the dealership to gain knowledge and learn from.
Pretty incredible, how far training has gone, right? From the past days of just saying, just learn this script, and you'll be fine. Just say these words and you'll do just fine. And to today, really cross training between departments, so you really understand how the whole wheel works. Learning how to actually communicate with a customer so that you understand. Not empathy just for the problem, but beyond that, what does that really mean to them that they are having that problem and how they solve it and how your service department can actually make it better for them. Ted, we got some really good things out today.
And Ron, exciting to hear about all the success from everybody on this panel.
Yeah, everyone's doing really well, and they're doing really well because they've done things well, right? They wasn't like by accident. It's not that the river just got deeper. It's that they actually paddled a little faster and did a little better at what they do and have grown their businesses because of it.
And you and I have watched it over the last few years. So, very grateful to everybody on the panel. Thank you to Tom Druzynski at West Her. Tom, great to have you here. Robert Migliaccio at Carter Myers. Just wonderful to see all the success that you're having as well. Tully Williams, what do I say, right? Wow. Ron and I are very grateful to you for all you do for Fixed Ops Magazine. Ed Roberts, amazing. So at Bozard Ford Lincoln. Shawn Kingrey, congratulations on all your success. John Fairchild, yep, love it, fantastic. And Sarah Vantine, thank you so much for all you do for the industry. Great work.
Absolutely.
And Ron Overs, thank you for all you do at Fixed Ops Magazine for everybody here in the industry.
It is so fun to just shine a light on great people. Right. And that's really, Ted, what we get the opportunity to do, both of us, right, is just to take and find someone who's just amazing at what they do and then give them the stage for a moment and say, tell us about how you've become who you are. That's pretty exciting.
Now, Ron, you've got the digital edition at fixedopsmag.com. If somebody is not receiving the magazine, how do they go about subscribing and getting signed up for that?
It's probably the easiest process in the world, right? And you can do one of two things, right? You can just go to fixedopsmag.com and go there and put your email address in, your name, and away you go. If you'd like to have a quality magazine that you can read at your own pace and not worry about, getting eye fatigue from your monitor, you know what? We have this amazing 68-page magazine with some really cool people on the cover. That you can get every other month and get that. Or you can just Ron at fixedopsmag.com and say, Ron, give me a magazine, would you? And I'll work with you until you got it, whatever that takes. But,
and if somebody has some up and coming content, you'd be interested in taking a look at that as well for the magazine?
For sure. Every day almost, I get somebody who says, hey, I got a great idea. And, last issue, we had somebody who lives on an island out, past Dominican Republic, who actually wrote an article for us. So we're not just looking for, but he's a great sense with people. We were always looking for great people who really got great ideas. And that's what we do.
Ron Overs, everybody, Fixed Ops Magazine, the best in the business, here with the A-list panel at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Do you have a great product you want to get in front of auto dealers across the country, and specifically their fixed ops departments? Their service, parts, and body shop? For over 15 years, Fixed Ops Magazine has been putting service-related products like yours in front of franchise auto dealers across the country. There simply is no better way to reach every dealer in the USA all at once. Hi, I'm Ron, the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine, which is both a digital at fixedopsmag.com and print magazine that reaches out to over 38,000 subscribers who influence what products are purchased in the over 16,000 dealers across the country. Fixed Ops Magazine may even publish your article about a topic you are an expert and have a real passion for in this industry. Every article has the author's contact info so they can reach you. Write an article, run an ad, and an e-blast. We call that our bundle for success. You won't believe how great a deal it is. So to get started, call, text, or email me and I'll tell you more. We are 100% devoted to the franchise stores so we don't waste your time or money. We are laser focused on your prospects. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today. www.fixedopsmag.com. Ron at fixedopsmag.com. 714-803-5476. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today.
Take a moment now to pull out your phones to scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the best practice awards that will be announced at the end of the event. Remember, every vote counts, so make sure to vote for the 5 speakers or panelists whom you think are the best and grooviest speakers at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And don't forget, you can only vote once, so make it count. We're bringing it back to BG with our next segment with Rob Leary.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. We have Rob Leary here with BG Products, the exclusive sponsor of the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Rob, thank you. Thanks, Ted. Thanks, Sarah.
Great to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, BG Products is the exclusive sponsor of these pop-up events. We're very grateful to you and for Team 1 BG, okay? Yeah. For what you do for our industry.
Well, thank you. What you do for our industry, like I always said, you made the Fixed Ops the new front door to the dealer, Shawn, right?
You know, I haven't seen you in a while with all that's gone on with all the virtual stuff. That you know, we had the first couple events together.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So I got to ask you, I was just at BG Products. I had a chance to spend a couple days there with the team. Very impressive, by the way.
No, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's a wonderful facility. I mean, with all the technology driven there, it's pretty amazing.
And you've got a number of facilities. One of them is 30 miles away in that El Dorado campus. Amazing, the warehousing and the packaging and how you put it all together.
Yeah, it's so clean, you can eat off the floor.
Yeah,
literally.
Amazing. So, all right, bring us up to speed because as you know, and as Sarah knows, a lot of changes happening in our industry.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I had when I came up there to BG was, okay, EVs are coming. We're all aware of that. You know, it's kind of the question that a lot of folks may not want to talk about, but how are EVs going to affect what's happening at the new car dealerships around the country and how that's going to affect BG Products?
Yeah, I mean, it really is the elephant in the room. You don't really see it talked about. You see automotive news, you read all the articles about EV and everything, and it's great. But the reality is that the EV market is going to be a slow take, right? In the next 30 years, EVs will overtake the combustion engine. We all know that's going to happen, but it's going to be a long, slow process. And I start looking at the complexity of the EV market and relative to the ICE engine, as we like to call it. And there's so much growth opportunity. Just as an example, NADA just put out a study actually back in 2021, and it stated that we did $689 billion in service and repair maintenance business in the industry, right? That means dealer, independent, mass merchandiser, et cetera. In the next 5 years, we expect that's going to grow to $950 billion. So when you think about that from a perspective and you look at the EV market and woe is the EV to the parts and service side, the reality is it's not going to have an impact for a long, long time. And the growth opportunities are huge and immense for our industry. Example, So I look at AutoZone, right? AutoZone's a huge parts supplier, right? So their stock today, and pre-pandemic, I think it was trading at like $1,200, which is a lot for a stock. $1,200 per share. Today, I just looked at the stock market, over $2,500. So for a business that appears to be going by the wayside, it's not going anywhere, right? It's nothing but going up. And a lot of room.
I know that BG is preparing because I had a chance to see a lot of the things they have coming. Very impressed with all the technology you've also got in place at BG.
Yeah. And I think that's what's going to hold us as a company together is all of our technology, all of our new products, whether it be EV or ICE engine, it doesn't matter. BG will be there for the long term, for the future, for our dealers, for our distributors, and of course, the consumer.
I know there are some big growth initiatives coming from BG.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe some you can and some you can't talk about. I don't know. Anything you want to share with the audience?
Well, I think we kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit with our distributors and all of our reps. So I think it's worthwhile saying. So we entered into a pilot program with General Motors. And OEMs notoriously have not, quite frankly, played friendly with us yet in the preventative maintenance space, but they saw the need for, especially when you start to look at these smaller engines, right? You get the GDI engines and difficulty with the fuel problems that they're having. They were looking for a partner to have that could actually solve a lot of their GDI engine problems. So we've been working with them for about probably the past 5 years, and finally we came to an agreement, and now we are going to be the provider for fuel services for General Motors. We will co-brand it under AC Delco and BG brands. We will supply that to all GM dealers, so that will give us an opportunity to capture, if you will, and capitalize on all General Motors dealers. Right now we got about 53% of the total dealer market, 23% of the units.
Wait, say that number again, 50 what?
53%.
Of the dealer market.
Of the dealer market. Every manufacturer, every franchise, and BG products. Yeah,
Nobody can say that.
No, and it really is our distribution channel, our distributors that make up over 800 reps, literally calling on our dealerships week in and week out. It's what makes the 53% possible. But beyond that, when we look at that, we believe we can double our growth. And just in the General Motors side of the business, and then we think that will yield itself to, now I'm here talking at a Ford program, so I apologize, guys, but the reality is Ford has the same problems. They got GDI engines, they have the same fuel issue problems. Every vehicle out there has a lot of these problems and more, but that's our first entree in, and we think it's going to be a fantastic partnership with General Motors, and we're super excited about it.
Rob, congratulations on General Motors. I know it's been in the works for some time. Yeah, that's going to be an explosive growth opportunity for BG and for General Motors dealers as well. So Congratulations to you. BG truly is, I've heard the phrase, partners beyond products.
Yes, we are. Thank you very much, Tim.
So, Rob, grateful to you at all BG does for our industry.
Sarah, good to see you again.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Everybody, Rob Leary with BG Products, Partners Beyond Products, here today at the third pop-up event at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Stay with us.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable Certified Program is designed to help preferred dealers and partners with powerful tools and resources.
Learn more at fixedopsroundtablecertified.com.
The Clean Air Car Care campaign is BG's green initiative designed to promote the BG Platinum Fuel System service, which has been proven to reduce harmful emissions. Additional services featured in the campaign include the BG Platinum 44K service, which restores fuel economy, and the BG Climate Control service that will refresh the air inside your customers' vehicles. Advisors can match the service with the customer's biggest concern. Is it performance and fuel economy? Is it the environment and emissions? Or is it the air quality inside their vehicle? The services offered with the Clean Air Car Care campaign will provide your customers with clean air both inside and outside of their vehicles. Talk to your BG distributor about how to sell more services with BG Clean Air Car Care.
These folks put the epic in the Epicor panel. Please welcome Tim Hardin, Senior Vice President, along with Ed Roberts, Tully Williams, and Sarah Vantine.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have an exciting panel ahead on turning customer pay jobs into a revenue growth engine. We are here with the A-list Tully Williams, Shawn Kingrey, Sarah Vantine from Quantum 5, Ed Roberts, and joining us today is Tim Hardin, who is the Global Senior Manager and General Manager at Epicor. Everyone, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Great to be here.
So, Tim, let me start off with you. Epicor, our data experts in that customer pay service space. Tim, how big is the customer pay market in your perspective, and how strong are the growth prospects for the next few years?
Well, a lot of it depends on where you read, but I think in general, there's agreement that it's about a $400 million customer pay market that's available, and it's growing. And one of the statistics that we keep up with, because we've been in the aftermarket for so many years, is what's the aging look like in the vehicle population base, so vehicles in operation. 60% of vehicles are at least 8 years old. 25% of those vehicles are actually over 12 years old. And so a lot of that's evolved over the last few years for all of the obvious reasons that we're all aware of. So I don't want to take us back in time on that. But there's certainly a very significant opportunity as these vehicles stay in the market longer for our dealerships and anybody in the aftermarket or in the franchise dealer space that wants to take advantage of it to own that all makes, all models in every household.
Ed, you're here on the East Coast, big shop, probably the biggest on the East Coast. Your thoughts on growth prospects for customer pay the next several years?
It's what we make it. And I know Tim, it sounded like Tim said 400 million. It's actually 400 billion. And that's what he was trying to get out there. Just made it sound that way. And it is, the opportunities are endless for us. In the time that I've been in the business, we've never had this aged of a fleet rolling around in our streets. And it's our opportunity to capture our part of the market. And if we're not capturing our part of the market, then we have some opportunity in front of us. Because if we don't take care of our customers, guess what? Someone else will. So,
Shawn, I heard it last week from your dealer, Shawn Baxter. He said that we've never been at a time, as Tim Hardin just said, aging vehicles, everything is at an all-time high, Shawn.
It is, and he made a comment when we did the pop-up event that our business model's changing, and as we build new stores, where we're going to have brand new stores, Ford stores, by the way, right up Ed's alley here, they're going to have 2 or 3 car showrooms with 40 and 50 bay service departments. The focus isn't in the front now, it's in the back, because that number up here in the Midwest is even a little stronger. They are a little higher. They are keeping them longer with interest rates at what they are, and they're not going down for sure. And with availability of vehicles, even though they're coming back on the lot, guys, they're just not sexy at the payments they are. You have no choice. You have to keep what you have.
Yeah. Sarah, what are you seeing out there in the market today?
Well, to Shawn and Ed's point, this is really the time to develop a lot of your customer base and really focus on retention. So that is the same message that we are really driving home at Quantum 5, and that's also what we're helping dealers in the training space really focus on. And BDC, service BDCs are important to organizations driving that customer pay revenue, having the opportunities to keep in front of people with your service advisors and your whole entire service team. It's just more critical than ever to really focus on developing your training.
Look at Tully. He's chomping at the bit. I've waited almost 4 minutes to come to Tully on this panel. So Tully, I've saved you.
Thank you so much. I tell you, I agree with Ed. It's all what you want. I think it starts with, are you in the mentality of repeat and referral business? And our customer pay right now is accelerating. And that's because we believe in repeat referral, which means we sell tires, we sell everything to make people happy and make them want to come back and buy the next car. And Shawn mentioned, payments. You figure out loans are 7 years, 7, and if we do a good job with VSC penetration, guess what happens? We're locking them, we're not locking them in, but we give them a great idea of why they should come to us. And if we treat them well, they have no reason to leave. And our customer pay is accelerating, which is the only thing we can control. And with EV coming along, customer pay is so crucial to keep that customer in because there's less things to sell. But there's also the tower is extremely high tech, which means that they want to have the right technician work on that car so they don't get killed. So we are bullish on customer pay and driving more business.
Tully, I saw that firsthand myself on the recent visit out to see you at the 10 Nilo locations. Ed, would it be fair to say that Bozard, single point, but I mean, you do huge volume, huge numbers there all the way across the board. Are you focused on that customer pay market?
Well, that's a big piece of what we do with mobile. Customers don't mind paying for what they enjoy or what makes it convenient for them or doesn't take time away from them. And that's what our mobile truck does for us. So it's there if you ask for it. But if you don't go chase it, you won't be in the repeat and referral business like Tully always says. And then you'll be conquesting when it is time for them to replace that vehicle. And so it's our job to do it up front. But yes, it is endless. And if you don't think that you're getting enough customer pay, if you think your ratio is incorrect, then you might need to look in the mirror a bit because there's probably some processes that we're missing. Hey, and we all miss processes. It doesn't mean that we've done anything wrong. It just means there's something that we're missing right now. And the good part about it is we can always fix it.
You all lead some of the best run dealerships in the country. And Ed, let me come back to you on that customer pay. Why is it historically that the aftermarket has controlled a lot of that customer pay? Why is that so?
It's convenience. The customer has to come to us when they're under warranty, and we don't make it convenient for them when they come here. And so they end up having to leave the vehicle for a week and whatever else. And every transaction that they've been involved with the aftermarket, it's a now business in those deals. And so meaning when that thing pulls up, when that customer pulls up, they are all over it and they turn you around that much faster. And so that's what we have to do is we have to shift to where we are in the now business and we can take care of and make it convenient to our customers, whether it's going to them or whether we're going to take care of it here. But being 4 and 5 weeks out doesn't get us there. So we have to meet our customers on their terms.
Yeah. Sarah, I know you're seeing it as well on the retail side. Why is the aftermarket? Why have, in your opinion, have they controlled that, had a big share of that customer pay and continue to?
Well, and Ed really touched on one of the key points there, and that is that oftentimes when you look at a dealership's availability and what they really focus on in the shop and what technicians can work on in a day, all the repairs, all the diagnostics, those are the things that dealers historically, it pays the big bucks. So let's focus on that. And the reality is then when you take somebody that wants to get an oil change or a basic maintenance, like a 15K or a 20K service done, now you're directing them out into, the independent market and letting them decide where they're going to go because you don't have any availability within your shop or your scheduler, or you make the process, as Ed said, so difficult that the customer just gets frustrated with it. And so what we're seeing has really been this focus, and I've been really excited to help champion it with some of our People First BDC initiatives, but it's been exciting to really focus on how do you maximize your shop capacity in your scheduler? How do you teach everybody the skills to effectively communicate that and get more of that business in your technician's hands? So, as Marco would say, your technician's going home, wealthy and tired. That's what you want at the end of the day across all of our businesses. And so, to Ed's point, we just have to really get back to the basics and focus on all of the services, not just the ones that are diagnostic or repair.
For those of you who don't know, Sarah's referring to Marco Zwanenberg, probably arguably the most popular technician in the country. Tully, where did Marco get that phrase? I think I heard it as rich and tired. We want him to go home.
Rich and tired, 100%. Sarah is spot on. I think when you look at even 10 years ago, customer pay was like, okay, we'll work on the good stuff because pay plans were designed by old metrics, by hours per RO and dollars per RO. Honestly, we need to be in the maintenance business because that's truly the repeat and referral. And that's low dollars per RO, and that's low effective labor rates, and that's low everything. But, if we sell our capacity of hours, that's the win to keep Marco's rich and tired. And I think the concept is that Are we going to make it easy for the customer? When the customer drives in, Ed's spot on, please approach the bench. That is not what we want. We want to make it easy to do business with us, right? Can we send them a quote? Are they seeing the videos, right? Can they pay online? Can they say yes and no with their fingers? This is what we want to do to make it convenient, so they have no reason to go to the tire shops and sit on a folding chair that is filthy dirty in a magazine that's 4 years old. But that person there is out there talking to that customer. We have these beautiful facilities and great people. We just got to show it off.
Amen. God bless you, Tully. God bless Tully Williams. Shawn Kingrey, your thoughts on why that customer pay has been controlled by aftermarket, both parts and service providers?
I know it sounds cliche, but if you don't shop yourself every 30 days, you're missing the boat. It's not a 6-month thing. It's not a 12-month thing. And to me, it's like role play. Nobody's comfortable with role play, but you have to find that person. And Ted, when you were at the store, you got to meet a couple of them. I've got 2 warranty guys that sit back, and they love to do it, by the way. And every 30 days, they shop all 8 of my stores. And you got to find out why that oil change place that has a number in it, I won't share their name, has a line sitting outside, because they make it convenient. And their average RO last month was $138. Back to Ed and I's old Quick Lane, when Quick Lane got launched, it was all about the dollar per RO as far as the dollar total. That's changed. You got to be competitive. You got to be, and again, if you're not scheduling yourself an appointment, get into your DMS, get into your schedule, get into your online, make yourself an appointment. As Tori always says, would you want your mother to have to wait 3 weeks for a check engine light? Why would you wait 3 weeks? You won't do it. Somebody else will do it if you don't. And if you're not shopping yourself, you're failing.
Tim, let me ask you the same question in the context as Epicor being both a technology provider that serves dealers, and you serve the aftermarket competitors as well.
Yeah, I think everything that the panelists have just said, it's awesome to be with the best of the best here and hear what you have to say. I think a few things that come to mind. The first thing is go back to what Ed said. Mobility is a big piece of it now. Excuse me. We're seeing that mobility and getting out to where the customers reside to repair the vehicles. That's one of the reasons that technology platforms like ours that offer that aftermarket view are getting pulled into the OE space. So those organizations like the ones represented here that have mobile services that need to know, how do I get the right part to the right place at the right time within 30 minutes of the time the vehicle either goes up on the lift or I'm in the parking lot working on that vehicle? The mobility services are a big part of it. The other thing that we've seen is that there's a need in the marketplace, and I think one of the reasons that the aftermarket has probably had somewhat of an advantage is there have been organizations like ours that offer data that's related to the vehicle's failure rates on parts. So not just recommended maintenance from the OEM, but the actual failure rates on specific parts on vehicles. And that's a big difference when you're talking about maintaining a vehicle versus here's what's recommended. And hey, you know what? We know from data that within the next 30 to 60 days, this water pump's going to fail because we're seeing it in this region of the country. And that kind of data that we've been able to push into the aftermarket, I think has been one of the reasons they've had somewhat of an advantage. And the other reason is because it hasn't always been easy for dealers they've either had to pick up the phone and call one of the big four or their local parts provider to see if they have the part available. There really hasn't been a seamless way out of the dealer management system to get into parts availability and service estimating for somebody that's in the drive to try and keep them there so that you can serve all makes, all models. So I think that's another reason that it's been a little more impactful for the aftermarket to own that, simply because they've just had better access to data, and it's been a little harder for dealers to get to that information.
So Tim, you've got a diverse group of folks here on the panel. You got Ed Roberts in St. Augustine, Ford, Bozard Ford Lincoln. And I think it's approximately 96 to 98 technicians you've got, plus you've got the 10 mobile rolling service vehicles as well. Tully Williams up in Sacramento, California with the 10 centers there, okay, luxury brands. Shawn Kingrey with 8 stores over in Madison, Wisconsin. Sarah Vantine at Quantum 5, she just spent, however, 12 years in retail and, making sure that the customers can get in to her dealer group in North Carolina. Tim, how do you help dealers, resolve some of these issues and get their share?
Well, first of all, let's just go back to what I was talking about earlier. So we have a platform called Integrated Service Estimator, and it's primarily been aftermarket up until the last year and a half when we took a look at it, and we had some inbound demand from the dealer segment saying, "Can you help us?" So we've now brought that integrated service estimator into the dealer segment, and we have it integrated with one of the major DMSs. It's with CDK at the moment, and we're working on the others at this time. And that platform allows you to have access to really just billions of part numbers and 17 million different vehicles. It goes all the way back into the 60s relative to vehicles that are available. So if you want to service all makes, all models, it gets you access not just to the content and parts availability, but it gives you a service estimate as well. So if you think about labor codes, et cetera, so it gives you a good solid estimate to give to a customer. And that extends out into an e-com platform that allows consumers to go in and determine what does a repair look like for their vehicle as well. So that's one area that we've been able to move into the dealer market. The other, I talked about analytics. We have some analytics products and services that we offer that's really based on the movement of parts data in North America, and it's based on failure rates of parts in the marketplace. That's currently consumed by the OEMs because they looked at trying to determine, what do I need to make next? Where do I put it to distribute it? And then all the way down to the store level, how do I recommend what inventory levels should be at the shop level to ensure that they have their greatest opportunity to sell parts? And we believe that for those large organizations like the ones represented here that do a lot of parts business, there are probably some areas that we can add some value there. And then finally, we are seeing the service estimator tool, which is the foundation of that is our parts catalog. So underneath all of this is that catalog that's been in development and the next generation of it coming out. It's been around for 40 years now. So it has all of that history, but we have enabled it with mobility. So there are large service mobility organizations in the marketplace today that are licensing that service estimator tool, and they're putting it on their vans so that when they're out, they're able to make sure that they have the right parts availability and they know where to pick it up. So I think that those are the three areas: data analytics, enabling a seamless interface so that you can move from your DMS into parts availability into the marketplace. And then finally, just focusing on mobility services are the areas we're seeing growing demand.
Can I come back to that service estimator? Because I've heard about it. I've seen a little bit before the panel today. That's being widely used now, isn't it?
It is widely. It's in several thousand shops in the independent space. It's only in a handful of franchise dealers today because, again, just over the last year and a half, we had to do the development. We had to make sure it was integrated on the DMS side. And then we do have a couple of larger dealer groups that are looking at that across their entire enterprise so that they can leverage that all makes, all models approach to the marketplace.
Tully, your thoughts on some of the things we're hearing here today?
So, the first thing that came to mind is that, the biggest thing is that we are in the repeat referral, but we love used automobiles, right? And part of our business plan is used cars. And what is the biggest bottleneck for used cars? It usually is not the technician diagnosing the car. It's the parts department looking up the parts, getting a quote, whining and complaining, and then we give it to the used car manager. When you look at what he's talking about, when we have all makes, all models, right? We can basically turn that around and not like it's kind of like a CPO car where we know the automobile, the service advisor now has access to parts and labor. And I bet you would shave at least a day off of your Recon just because you have access to parts pricing at your fingertips. It's a huge deal. And I think as a lot of us get into maybe more opening up our driveway to off makes and models, I mean, this is a necessity. The worst thing you can ever do is say, I take all makes, all models. Oh, we don't have an oil filter. That'll be 4 hours. It always happens, right? So I think that, for us, what I see, the used car departments, which is a huge deal for all of our businesses on this call, is parts availability for our off brands. And I see that as a huge win.
Something I heard at Nilo while I was there, Tully. I recall Larry Sherman, your parts manager, saying to me that parts sells hours. Do you want to just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, I did. I mean, I got them all to say it, but the thing of it is that we can't make any money or even have long-term customer base by diagnosing cars and sending them out the door. And and what I like to say is that parts department is a crucial element to the fixed ops department. It's not the parts and service, it's the fixed ops, because without parts, we don't sell hours. We only sell diagnosis, and diagnosis is not what technicians want to do. And two is that you're not going to make any money or make customers happy. So parts sells hours, and having the parts people have easy access to get parts fast helps technicians' productivity. And as my counter people are paid on the hours forecast, they are crucial to make sure our technicians are rich and happy every day.
Ed, I see you chomping at the bit now. I'm sure you have something to add.
Well, I want to talk to the audience there as well, because I want you to listen to what Tim said. Tim says they're going to use data to give us predictive diagnosis. And with that, what he's really saying is, for that customer that you brought in, you did a good job with last week. You sold them a set of tires. You took care of them. You took care of the check engine light. You did all the things that you needed to do. And then 3 days after they left, something else failed, and that becomes your fault. And never had an issue with that until we brought it into you. And with predictive diagnosis, you had that data in front of you. Now you've sold those tires, you fixed the check engine light, you've done those things, and you can have the conversation with Mr. Customer. We also see these around the time frame that your vehicle's at now, time of mileage that your vehicle's at now. Why don't we go ahead and take care of that for you, so you're not inconvenienced yet again? And that's the opportunity for us to all grow. And then you talk about convenience. We've prevented that customer from having to come back, but also we've prevented from the erosion of trust. Because as soon as that thing has to come back 3 days later because something else happened that was operating properly when it was there, it's no longer that it failed. It's your fault. What are you going to do about it? And the audience, everybody in that audience has been through those scenarios. And predictive diagnosis is one of the biggest elements coming. And as much of that data as you can get your hands on, that use it, because it will help you keep the trust that you spent so much time building, but also prevent our customers from having to go search the aftermarket when they decide, well, I'm just going to take it somewhere else this time.
Wow. Well said. Tim, what do you think about that?
Agreed. I think that's really the difference between suggested maintenance and predictive maintenance is if you know, based on what you're seeing in the marketplace, if you have insight into failure rates for parts and you can make a recommendation, and we have a platform that now does that automatically through a partnership that we have with MicroStrategy, that while you're looking up the part for a particular vehicle that's in the drive, it will recommend, hey, these next 3 parts are the most likely to fail on that vehicle. And it's just based on the algorithms that we've run for the data that we've collected over time and watching parts movement and understanding what the failure rates are. So if you have a better insight into when a part is going to fail, then to Ed's point, it builds trust, because now, look, nobody wants to deny service. Everybody feels bad about denied service. So if you give them, here are 3 things you can do to your vehicle, and then they leave, just speaking as a consumer, I go home and I'm like, maybe I should have done that. And so I think that it's an opportunity for you to present that to the consumer and give them the choice, because customers love choice. Give them the choice, and then you'll find the RO going up, and you'll do much more repair. You'll build a lot of trust with your customers that way.
Sarah, we see a lot of things here. You and I and everybody on the panel on the roundtable, we see things that first come to market even before the rest of the world does here. And I know you personally, Sarah Vantine, are all about understanding the customer's needs and expectations, but also about managing that service experience, which you've been a big part of laying the groundwork. Talk to us about the importance of maybe capturing or recapturing these parts and service opportunities.
Well, it is so critical when you think about what goes on in a household. So I'll use me as an example. I drive a Honda Odyssey. My husband drives a Toyota Tundra. Well, from a ease of service standpoint, we have 2 separate brands that we drive in our household. And chances are a lot of your customers have a similar setup where somebody drives a different vehicle or a different make than the store that they purchased it from. And we have to think about the last few years we've seen a surge in pre-owned inventory. Chances are where they bought that car from, it may have not been the brand, the OEM dealership franchise that the pre-owned vehicle represented. They could have bought another OEM brand. And so now you have this customer that's sitting in a database. And what are you marketing to them? What are you doing to make it easy for them to keep their vehicle maintained and driven properly, and all of the wonderful things in that ownership experience that customer deserves? And so when you think about what Tim and Ed were just talking about, this is an opportunity for us to really enable a cohesive strategy where you're looking at not just that one vehicle and that one VIN, but also the entire household and the entire ecosystem of that family of vehicles, because that's where you really build that loyalty and that customer retention, is when you make it easy for somebody to just go, all right, I need my car serviced. It doesn't matter what's on the side of the building, what brand it represents. I know that I can always go to Ed's store or Shawn's store or Tully's stores, and I can get any of my vehicle service there without any hassle. And I know it's going to be taken care of properly. At the end of the day, that's where we're going to really see success in the market.
Tim, that sounds about right.
It does. It does. I think that, again, it's a mindset shift that's been happening over the last few years. Everybody wants more customer pay. It's not as if somebody's going to wake up in the morning anywhere in the world and go, I'll take less of that. I think everybody understands intuitively that they want it. I think the ability to go out and get it, it takes a mindset, it takes equipment, it takes training at the dealership level, and it takes resources and platforms like you have across your technology stack to enable that and allow you to own that customer relationship and ensure that they trust that regardless of what they, look, we have a Dodge Ram and a Chevy, like two divergent brands. I'd love to just go one place and have them taken care of. But today that's not the world that we're living in, but I long for that day. And I think that the ones that get there first, those are the ones that are going to win, because the market that we're in today, it's not changing for a while relative to the age of the vehicle base that's out there. And with EV coming into the marketplace, you better get ready to have a lot of tires available, because those things chew tires up like crazy. So I think just understanding the dynamics in that marketplace there'll be some winners and losers in it, and the winners are going to win big.
Shon, I'll give you the last word. Ed talks about customer convenience, and this is perfect.
It's funny as I'm taking notes as we go along here. This is a great panel because I don't want to beat a dead horse after everybody else has said. I take it a step further is about parts inventory. All of our OEMs have their own parts ordering systems, okay? And they tell you what you should stock and shouldn't stock based on a 12-month, and they'll guarantee it and return it, but they don't do it on every make and model. I know that some of ours, I'm a Chrysler guy, and I've got 3 Chrysler stores that they're getting back into that field, and they're trying to predict it. But if you could predict what parts you needed all based on your customer base, you know what's in your DMS, you know what you service, you know what you sold up front. And if I could predictively tell you what parts are going to fail, what water pumps are going to fail, and what Malibus, and you have those in stock in advance, guys, you can't put a price tag on that, because now your tech's not standing in the bay going, I don't have the part again, I don't have the part. And you have the part. And I get the predictive maintenance selling, and I understand that. But on the stuff that breaks, you already have it because something's telling you to have it. And, with service price guides and all the different DMSs, what Tim brings to the table is what those have failed. Let's be honest. They've had shortcomings for years. That's why you go to alternate sources to find solutions.
All right, Tim, bring it home. How do we get in? How do we take the next step with Epicor?
Well, I think that certainly there's a lot of data available at epicor.com, but we have a field force available. I'm available to any of our, any of the panelists or any of our dealer network that we know. And we'll be at Apex, we'll be at NADA. Last year was really the first time Epicor was at NADA, because we were just making the move into the franchise dealer space. So you probably would have found us after a long journey somewhere in the backside of one of the buildings. It would have taken 2 bottles of water to stay hydrated to get there. But we're going to continue to grow our presence in the marketplace. So I think that there are a number of different touch points in the marketplace: Apex, SEMA, NADA, and then of course our field force that you can go to epicor.com and you can find out about a lot of these services and everything that was just noted around making data available to the OEMs. Many of these OEMs are consumers of our data, and they're looking at those failure rates to determine what they're going to manufacture. So we're super excited about the future, and we think that there's a lot of growth ahead of us, not just at Epicor, but I think for all of us that are represented here, because it's going to be some really, really good times over the next 5 to 10 years if you can own all makes, all models.
Everybody, Tim Hardin is the global senior manager, general manager at a company called Epicor. They've been around over 50 years. They are making tremendous strides. I know Tim is on LinkedIn. We've communicated on there before. Don't hesitate to visit epicor.com. Reach out to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, to myself as well. We'll help direct you to the right place. And Tim, thank you. Great panel, by the way. I'm glad we decided to do this. And we'll invite you back. We'd love to hear more as things continue to progress with Epicor.
This is awesome. Great to see everybody.
I want to thank the panel: Tully Williams, Shawn Kingrey, Sarah Vantine, Ed Roberts, and Tim Hardin here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable with Epicor, learning more about the different services they have. Epicor here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Whether you consider it evolutionary or revolutionary, change is reshaping the franchise dealer business. And we're not talking about electric vehicles. There's another promising opportunity that demands your attention. It's the fast-growing and increasingly lucrative customer pay parts, tire, and service market. Consider what's happening around you. Average vehicle age is at an all-time high and rising faster than ever. More than 60% of passenger vehicles are 8 years old or older. 25% are at least 16 years of age. Together, this represents 244 million prospective parts, tire, and service targets. We say prospective because the vast majority of these vehicles are being serviced outside the franchise dealer channel. Would you like to capture your share of this nearly $400 billion opportunity? Epicor is ready to help. Our solutions are enabling thousands of automotive businesses to address every customer pay parts, tire, and service opportunity for virtually any vehicle, regardless of make, model, or year. We're helping service providers build customer relationships spanning the full vehicle lifecycle, from the end of the factory warranty to the day the vehicle is scrapped. We're putting the industry's most complete parts, tire, and labor data at the fingertips of thousands of service advisors every day. We've created a faster, more accurate estimating process for customer pay jobs that helps dealers increase average RO and service lane productivity. We offer real-time information on local parts and tire availability and pricing to speed every job, increase customer satisfaction, and boost the dealer's absorption rate. And we're helping parts departments establish real-time visibility and control of their inventories to increase efficiency and reduce operating costs. Epicor is ready to help your fixed ops teams achieve the same impressive results. Own every non-warranty parts, tire, and service opportunity, all makes, all models, all customers. Now you can with Epicor. Contact us today to learn more.
The second day of FORTSTOCK was far out. Don't forget to vote for our Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the event. Life is a highway, and we'll ride it all the way to day 3 of FORTSTOCK tomorrow morning. So until then, hang loose and peace out.